Hello,
Hey,
hello. How are you, LockHeat?
busy, but good. And you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Um, yeah, it's been a really quick week. I feel like I don't know. I feel like this one flew by. I don't know.
Yeah, I did.
Flew. I mean,
But hey, that means it's sooner Saturday.
yeah, yeah. So we have tons of
And
people in chat already. Holy cow!
yeah, lots. I showed them in the intro. The intro was too short.
What's that?
I showed them in the intro, but the intro was too short.
We've got LockChuck was here first today. Hello, LockChuck. Then Cucumber claimed first. Let's see. Who's all? Let me see. LockChuck and Cucumber and Chris. Hello, guys. Southpaw Pete, G Keyman's here. Pocket Woman's here. John Holistics here. Zoe the cat. Snake.
Pocket Woman
Both
is here
snakes are here. This is why we can't have nice things. Hello. How you doing, P-Dubs?
Yeah, doing good in a different setting this morning. We are outside, so you'll be hearing the lovely sounds of nature.
There you go.
I hear some birds already.
Yeah, they're just waking up, so they're going to be a little bit noisy for the moment. We've got cockatoos and all sorts of things going off their nuts.
Very nice. All right, so Cucumber's here. Hello, Cucumber. Zeph Truss, Mr. Inferno, Adam Harris. Dog Picking Locksport is here. David Romano. Oh, did I say hi to Downfall? I don't know. Downfall. And who else did I see? Steve's here. Hi, Steve. And AJ. AJ's Locks and Locks. Is that our AJ? AJ Magnifishing? Did he change his name? I don't know. I'm thinking maybe. Or is this another AJ? Left Hand Loki. Hello. Texas Fire. Ricky Lee. Who else? Charles Watt. Hello, Charles. Too easy to pick. McDonald Poor. Hi, guys. Black Cat 13. I'm trying to see. John Doe. Thank you, John. Oh, John Doe's just greeting us before he disappears. Uh-oh. So I hope everybody had a nice week. And got some stuff picked. Gerard's here. Hello, Gerard.
Hey, Snake.
Hello there.
Hey, Snake.
It is I, as my headline might suggest, the VTuber. How is everyone?
Yeah, we're doing great.
We are good. Outdoor Adventures, hello. John Doe says, bye, have a nice one. He's already heading back out. All right, John Doe, thanks for stopping by to say hello.
Just coming to greet you before I disappear, they say.
So yeah, I hope everybody got some good stuff picked this week.
Nah.
I mean,
no?
I sure did. It's just a matter of whether I can reproduce it.
Right. I brought a bunch of padlocks to pick.
Yeah, I noticed you got the complete rainbow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice little rainbow of padlocks over there.
Oh, Pocket Woman, you may need to slide your phone out of the screen for any strange messages popping up, maybe.
Yeah, I'm still trying to get set up. as you do, I got set up yesterday out here and making challenge lock pins, and then I went to get up this morning, and the brain said, "No, you're falling back asleep." After I've been up since 1 o'clock this morning.
Uh-oh.
That's not a good sign.
No, that's not a good
Well-
sign at all. Where'd she go?
I saw that she was mentioning that the internet issues, like she was trying to upload the video and it took about 12 hours or so.
Oh, jeez.
It could be that her
Oh,
internet is
no.
just
Poor pocket
logging
woman.
out.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
And here I was about to just joke, imagine touching grass, am I right? Certainly couldn't be me. Oh, hey, speaking of grass, that lock is green. Nice.
Yeah,
First
got
one,
'em.
yay!
Got a bunch of them today. Got a bunch of killers today. Yeah, so
What is
I hope
the-
Pocket Woman can get back with us. I don't know if she'll have continued
usually
to have
can.
issues.
Yeah.
But
Is the stream seriously just us at the moment?
Yep.
it is. It is.
My goodness. Okay. I was not expecting that. I was expecting there to be like 8 of us already.
Sometimes
quite
we get
nice,
a
though.
slow start. Yeah, sometimes we have slow starts. Let's see. Let's see. Ricky Lee says, huh?
I see that AJ is still struggling with this Nemeth NF2.
Yeah, yeah. I just
Had this Nemeth
Seeing
in a
that.
false set, and now it's not. Oh god.
That thing
is it- Is this just me, or is dropping your false set like one of the worst feelings on the planet?
Yep.
yeah, it's not fun. Yeah, it looks like there she is.
Oh, sorry about that. The slightest movement will make the webcam stop doing, and plus I'm outside and I'm in the world of dodgy internet, so it may cut in and out at its leisure. So that's going to make it fun, but we'll just enjoy the lovely sounds of the birds waking up
Yes.
and
Can-
the
can a
mosquitoes
cockatoo-
eating me. So if you hear buzzing, you know that's a mozzie coming for my blood.
Can a cockatoo pick
Come
a
to
lock?
take my
Maker's Muse proved that they're pretty
pictures.
smart.
All
Yeah,
right.
just,
second.
One made it, landed on me, and gone to God. Yep. Bye-bye.
All right.
There we go.
Oops. Oops.
Let's warm up with some picking, shall we? And
All
sort
right.
the chat out. See what's happening in the
already
chat.
starting.
Who's in chat?
Yes.
Oh yes, we had D-Mac join us, Jonathan Smith, and
GT
somebody else
Man.
I saw. GK Man, did I say hi to GK Man? I thought I might have.
Oh yeah, we usually introduce
saw
what we're
teammates
picking,
popping
don't
in.
we?
Let's see. Yeah, I am having a rough time picking this week. I seem to be just super annoyed with all the locks that I've attempted. And I don't know. Not really settling on one that I want to move forward with.
Goodness. I know that feeling, because like one week I got 4 out of my 5 American 1100s open. Next week I couldn't even open one of them to save my life.
Yes, it can be a bad time.
But LadyLocks, I see it looks like you have a whole rainbow of those are abises, right?
Yes. different Avis and some
Eye.
Lockwoods and some. I think there is Locked In. Got a Locked In up there. And I don't know what the other one is called. I don't know what this one's called. Matlock. A Matlock.
Very
I don't think
nice.
I've ever picked that one on here. But yeah, I figured I'd go through and pick some of my different padlocks and see how that goes.
Very, very nice.
But
I just
where did I see that?
I just slayed a bunch of Master 141s as a warm up, and now I'm moving on to this this Packlock 98 Pro.
Yeah, Ricky Lee says he's been stuck on the Avis 80 Ti for the last week. And let's see.
A lightly serrated and 5 long spools. That can be a tough one.
Let's see.
I mean, for all
You'll
intents
get
and purposes,
that one. That one sucks.
for all intents and purposes, that lightly serrated is basically just a standard. Extra steps.
Steve says April Fool's Day is coming up. Anyone planning on some fun antics?
Oh, absolutely. I have a banger song coming out on April 1st.
There you go.
It's one that made waves on Reddit last year. That's all I'll say.
I'm waiting what LPL is going to do this year again. His April Fool's videos are always great.
He gave a quick preview during his surprise appearance on this stream.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Robert in the stream last time he showed up said Covert Instruments might be putting up the the famous dick pic. They're going to be making their own version. I remember just binging all of McNally's videos, and the dick pic made an appearance a couple of times there.
Yeah.
I got in a matlock for my green belt. Was very impressed by the security pins in that thing. What is in a matlock? Is it like?
It's the same as like an American 1100, pretty much. It's like a clone.
Okay. I was gonna say, like, for green belt, I would just expect the standard, like, serrated and spools and serrated spools.
Adam Harris says, not much picking for me. Feels like my fingers and arm are plugged into a light socket. That's not good. Mine do that
goodness.
occasionally as well, and it's super annoying. That's what mine have been doing the last couple days. They get like pins and needles, and it's hard to feel anything.
God. I'm really glad I'm keeping my arms busy, because if I sit still for too long, I will just start, like, twitching in my entire upper body. And it's been a thing for, like, the past handful of months. I would consider getting it checked, but I don't think it's a big deal. But yeah, if
it's always good to get all those sort of things checked, because it's nerve stuff. You know, nerves can die; they don't come back. So just get it checked.
Fair enough.
It could be something that's easily fixed, you know, and then you've put up with something for years, and then you find out, oh, there was an easy fix if I'd done this years ago. So just
maybe I'll bring it up.
Checked,
Maybe I'll bring it up next time I talk to my general practitioner, which I'm actually overdue. I'm actually overdue for. This pandemic, the pandemic really threw everything, all of my like personal health stuff out of whack. Like I only got new glasses this year after I think 2 years of not updating my prescription. I'm still experiencing the after effects of the COVID pandemic, I swear.
Oh,
I see a lot of
Lockchuck's
people,
trying to build
but,
a challenge lock. Oh boy.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I see a lot of people going into challenge locks last week.
Yeah.
It was kind of a theme.
Sometimes you go to the doctor for one thing and they find all kinds of things wrong. Oh yeah. I mean, my dad's a doctor, so he would know.
What up,
Yeah, why don't you
Nog?
ask your dad if
No,
you
they
don't want to
usually
go
blame-
to GP?
They usually blame everything on smoking.
Yeehaw!
Every lock I own is a challenge lock, Downfall says. I feel that sometimes. Let's see.
So I want to see if I can get this thing to focus, and if I can focus, because when I packed up all my stuff to come up north to look after the animals, when my sister and brother-in-law went up to my niece's memorial in Queensland, I grabbed all my challenge lock stuff, my J. Gabriel modification kit and some other things, and I came up here, but I forgot to pack all my gutting stuff, so I had to go to plan B, which was ask for things out of my wife's makeup kit, like tweezers and things. But I've managed, and I also forgot all my pinning kit, so I had to pull apart the locks that I brought with me to practice to get extra pins to make things. So this here, can we get in close? Machine. How close can we go?
I'm taking the shackle spring out of this.
What?
It's driving me nuts with it in.
Talking about CLs. Hey Jay.
Hello.
Hey Jay.
Hello.
Hi, Jay. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm trying to battle these two challenge locks I made, trying to make them for like new pickers. One side was serrated, the other side had the other way had more aggressive mods, and yeah, they're not as easy as I was expecting them to be.
Oh, that's a real nice one, Pocket Woman.
This is a piston pin.
Oh
So
wow.
the first time I saw one, I thought, oh my god, that's a pin I want to learn how to make. Mozzie, rack off. Go away, Mozzie. Oh, you've got long legs on you. Go away.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, that's the pin I'm going to make. So my first ever attempt at any pins was a piston pin. Yes, it does look like it's been through someone's
Excellent work.
engine and broken down, but
Very
it
excellent
is
work.
functional, and it's got some butchered serrations on this side, because that was my first attempt at anything. Was to
It
do
looks
some
wonderful.
serrations on
Excellent
that
work.
Yeah,
Excellent
that's really good.
Yeah.
side. And,
I'm very
yeah,
proud
so
for you.
that's the little beauty. And that's all
I know.
thanks to your modification kit, Jay. Your
Oh, you're
challenge
welcome.
lock modification
I wanted
kit.
to put more in there.
Without all those tools and all those things, plus all those extra things you threw in, like I noticed you threw in shims and things. Well, I needed shims to be able to gut these locks because I had no
Yes.
follower. So I had a back of a pick shoved in there with a shim on top, as you do. And so yeah, so very happy that I've managed to make my first pin. Yes, it took me all day, but you know, half the day was set up and finding things and getting comfortable, and then the rest of the day was making the actual pin and dealing with a dog that apparently with its neurological disorder, it's triggered by the sound of the drill going. So as soon as that goes off, the dog goes off her nut and starts barking at the sky. So
geez.
that was a little bit challenging. Keep her calm.
Earmuffs, like shooter's earmuffs.
Yes, I
Maybe
have
that might help.
earmuffs, safety glasses. Yeah, I've got all of
No,
that.
yeah, I was talking about for the dog. That and maybe a chew toy.
Yeah, it helps.
Keep it
And
occupied.
across the road, because we're on Main
Right.
Street with businesses and stuff, and it's a long
Yeah.
weekend, and across the road is all like winery stuff, like cellar doors and pubs and things. So they were all partying with their music up loud and stuff. So I couldn't do a video until they all quieted down. I managed to get my entry to Otter Arms 1,000 subscriber celebration. Congratulations, mate, on your 1,000. Video done. And then I uploaded it like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. 1 o'clock this morning, I'm still waiting for it to upload. 2:30 this morning, I thought I'm just going to cancel the upload because it said it was 97% done. This is how dodgy the internet is here. 97% done, and it's stuck on that. And I thought, it's been nearly 12 hours, 11 and a half hours I've waited for this thing to upload. I'm just going to re-upload it. So I cancelled it, redid it, and it uploaded within half an hour. So,
Oh, wow.
Oh my word.
can you not?
Yeah.
So if I drop out and
sometimes.
stuff, I shall return. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it gets like that too when I try to upload videos.
Oh yeah, question. If I've taken out the spring that makes the shackle on my pack lock pop out, will that affect whether or not the pick counts?
Probably.
Are you talking about for like a belt?
Yeah, or just generally. Because right now it's basically got a dead core in it.
Yes.
Okay.
Like I turn the key,
If you
and the
Now,
shackle
the
doesn't pop out.
actuator spring.
Oops.
Okay. I guess you could
If
just
you
take out
the
that shackle spring and
actuator
turn it to a
spring, it
dead.
makes a difference.
It will turn it to like a LadyLock.
Yeah, it might be different if you're counting it for the belt because I think it has to be unmodified. But if you're just picking it for picking it,
Yeah.
I don't think
This
it would
lock,
make a big difference.
Well, I was
But-
gonna mention this lock has no actuator spring. It just has the spring that it's the spring that makes the shackle do that.
Snap.
It's been bugging me like crazy
Oh.
when I use this lock normally. So
Yeah. Well, Knox
Good day,
Locks,
Robert.
he modified a heap of
Robert!
98s, and he took out all the shackle
Hello,
springs
Robert.
because he wanted it to be more like a LockHeat dead
Yeah.
core. So he did that, and it didn't affect the picking or anything because the picking's affected by the actuator. If there's a spring on that or not, that affects your tension. And so nothing really
Hey
affects
guys,
the
I'm just
core
figuring out my
unless
audio here.
it's to do with the pins or springs.
It works.
that makes sense.
You're good. We can hear you. We can hear you. But
Hear you. Well, if we couldn't
welcome,
hear you
welcome.
before, we can hear you now.
why are you taking that? You took the spring out of it for what reason, Snake?
Just cause it was bugging me like crazy. Cause like what I'm used to. Let's look at this American 1100, right? I turn the key and the shackle pops out. That's to be expected. When I push the shackle back in, the key turns back on its own. And I was not used to how the core actuator assembly works on the pack lock, because if I turn the key on the pack lock, it does the same thing. But then when I push the shackle back in, notice the key is not like, it's not doing the same, just because of the way the core and actuator are connected. And that was bugging me like crazy, because I had to like compress the shackle in, then turn the key if I wanted to take the key out. And I didn't want to be, it was like a minor thing, but I didn't want to be fighting the shackle every time I tried to turn the key back to take it out.
I
That's
see.
understandable, yes.
It's not self-locking. Exactly, David. David in chat has perfectly articulated what I'm trying to say. It's not self-locking, so I literally have to fight this shackle spring every time I want to take the key.
All right, testing out my audio again.
There you
All
are.
right, here we go. We can hear you.
Ellis, how's
We can
everybody
hear
today?
you.
Hanging out like wet laundry.
Absolutely. Awesome. I guess that's a good thing, because laundry's being done. Maybe.
Along with the plane, I guess.
Exactly. Not all musty and funky, getting fresh air.
Yep. Going out
Sorry,
to dry.
it took me a little bit longer to get on. I was stuffing Easter eggs for an Easter egg hunt later.
Oh,
Nice.
that'll be fun.
I was doing the parenting thing.
Right on.
Hey, those times go by very quickly. You'll be
You ain't kidding.
before
had
you know,
to,
you'll be stuffing for grandchildren. Going,
LadyLocks.
oh, jeez, my back hurts.
I had to clean up all the dog poop from my 180-pound Newfoundland in order to clear the way for this Easter egg hunt. It was
Oh, wow.
that
Yeah,
would've
You've
been
got a
better.
new
That's not
How
chocolate.
awesome.
yeah,
That's
it
not
tends to raise
chocolate.
the difficulty level.
Yes. That's not chocolate. Leave that alone. That ain't from the Easter Bunny.
I don't know if any of you guys have the pleasure of having large dogs, but if your dog is, I'd say, over 130 pounds, you have to adopt like a special picking up technique that involves like two hands in the bag, and you kind of have to turn your hand into like a face hugger alien and just
hmm
pick up. It's gross.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've modified. I
always
have a
break
pooper
out the-
scooper. I don't have to do the bag
Get a
thing.
spade
I was
shovel.
gonna say, whenever we're in the yard, whenever I'm in the yard, I always break out the dustpan and a rake.
You know, that's not a bad way to go about things.
Yeah.
It doesn't take long
Yeah,
for that.
so I don't
poop
have to
get
bend
super
down.
Gnarly though. Yeah, exactly. Cucumber.
Surprise. Oh my goodness.
Oh gosh.
Look away, children.
So, LadyLocks, Hope Complex had a question that they'd like answered while the chat's quiet. Are you able to answer that one? Because that's out of my depth.
Let's see. Easily clockwise, but not count. Wait. Oh, hang on. The chat's going up and I missed it. Hold on here. Progressive pinning
You
in
have
Twin
to go back a little
K.
bit
If
Sounds
now.
I
great.
fully
It's
pin
easier.
the sidebar, I can pick it easily counterclockwise, but not clockwise. If I just load the barrels, it's the opposite. That's because when you pick it one way, it kind of you basically have to pick one thing first, and then when you pick it the other way, the other thing engages first. So, I mean, I guess if you're picking it, what is it, counterclockwise? Once you put the barrels in and the side pins, if you pick it counterclockwise, you'll probably have to do the side pins first, I would imagine. And then, or if you decide to pick it clockwise, you'll have to pick the barrels first. But one engages before the other one, I believe. That's why that happens. But I see Pixmas in the chat. If I'm wrong, he can tell me. But I know a lot of times one thing will, it kind of isolates, and one thing will pick first, and it just depends on which direction you pick it in. But once you put everything in, it should go pretty much the same way. If you're picking it counterclockwise and the side pins go on, they should, be that way when it's full.
You'll get that one. That one's easy.
Somehow I doubt that.
Yeah, I was working on that. I don't know what is this one called, the executive or something, or I think it's called the executive. I just have no idea. I've yet to pick one that has the side pins in it where two side pins bind at the same time. But this one, I'm like, I need a double pick or something to go in there and pick them both, or I need to I'm sure that's not it, but I need to figure out. I think I have to put one on in between a gate and then pick it, but I can't figure out which pin needs to be between the gate to pick it. So I'm very, very confused and ready to throw it in the river. I see Ori's picking with us today.
Yes.
Hi, Ori.
Which goal is that? The V18?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ori, say hi.
What's that one?
Say hi, Ori. Ori.
See. I keep grabbing the wrong stupid mouse. All right, here we go. So is that what you're
Well,
now
that was
working
not-
on, Isaac?
I just pulled it out yesterday for fun, and it feels like I'm getting decent feedback. So I'm just wondering if I mess with it a little bit, if I'll get it. But I don't know. It's a hard lock. I don't expect that it's going to be easy, but I've thought the same about other locks that ended up feeling easier than I expected.
Of course.
You'll get that one. That one sucks.
You
Well,
clipped
I
that,
think,
That's good.
Robert, are you ready to give us a little bit of talk about what do you want to talk about today? Red team, I think
Hey,
you
Rob.
said? And
Hey, what's going on, guys?
and I didn't
yeah, we
offer up a Q&A. I figured if you wanted to take some questions, you can let us know, because I didn't want you to be bombarded with questions if you had
that's fine.
something you wanted to talk about ahead of time.
Just before we
Well,
overload the chat with any questions, let me make sure if you put a question in the chat, I'll mark it so we can put it on screen later on. So there's no need to keep repeating your questions. We know them, and we can put it up anytime we want. So just one time posting your questions is enough.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. I don't see the questions popping up on my screen, so if you guys have questions, just I guess bring them to me in an orderly fashion, I guess.
We can definitely relay them to you.
LadyLocks thought it would be interesting to talk about a couple of things. I know you guys had LPL on a couple weeks ago. It seemed like that went over pretty well. She thought it might be interesting for me to come on and talk about red teaming, everything about red teaming and actually doing this stuff for a living. And she also thought it would be really interesting for everybody to hear all kinds of crazy CI stories. So those are, I guess let's try to keep to those two categories for right now, and then like after we exhaust that, we can go bigger if you want.
All right.
First, for the people who don't know what red teaming is, can you care to explain a little bit about what red team entails?
Sure. So what red teaming is going out and breaking into things legally for educational purposes. And it's done in a whole bunch of different environments. It's done in military and law enforcement environments. It's done in commercial environments. But basically, we are hired by a company and then given some rules of engagement. Now, the reason people hire us, it could be there's a whole bunch of different reasons that people might want to hire us. Typically, they're trying to reduce insurance premiums, or they're trying to improve their overall security architecture. But they hire us, then they give us some rules of engagement. Here's where you can go, here's where you can't go, no matter what. Here's what you're allowed to say. If confronted here, don't do this. Don't let the person shoot you in the face. All of that good stuff. And they're also the people that give you kind of the get out of jail letter in case you are caught. And then, it's a very, very interesting career profile. It's not what I thought I would be when I'm filling out what I want to be when I grow up in third grade. But I did it for about 8 years, and I was reasonably successful at it. And with respect to lock pickers, there's a lot of folks get their start with lock picking and then eventually go into red teaming. So it's an interesting career path, one that I can speak with a great deal of authority on.
That's really cool. How long? You said you did that for about 8 years?
I did it for about 8 years.
Wow.
I did it for the government, and I also did it for on a commercial level.
Wow.
Two very different types of clients.
Yeah.
as you might imagine. Very different rules of engagement as well. Some are higher stakes and some are not as high stakes.
I think that'd be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool.
So that's about what Deviant Olam, or one of the bigger known red team guys, he has a great presentation done where he has different stories about everything that he encounters on his jobs.
Yeah, little known
If
fact.
you want to know more about this sort of stuff, I can suggest that video.
Sure. Little known fact, he was a former partner of mine.
Oh wow.
Cool.
So we worked.
I didn't know that.
We worked in very close proximity for several years.
I was gonna say, like, if
Yeah, he seems like a pretty cool guy.
I have not been arrested, but I do know two guys firsthand that have been arrested.
Oh wow.
I was gonna mention, like, even though this isn't the case, if you just look on CI's website, if I saw Deviant Olam's name mentioned under the design team page, I would not be surprised, because he's a pretty big name in red teaming.
He is. He's OG for sure.
Now, when you ended did you quit doing the red team to start Covert Instruments, or how did you decide to kind of end that?
Yeah.
career?
Towards the end of COVID, I got in. It's funny. I got in on the ground level. This was something. So what made me get into it was I was working for the National Security Agency, and I ended up leaving there. I got tired of moving at government speed, and I said to all my friends, "Hey, I got this idea that I want to break into places and get paid for it, and I'm looking for people to get involved with me and start this company." And everybody looked at me like I was batshit crazy. This was a long time ago. They said, "That's not a sustainable business model. You should go crawling back to the government and beg for your job back, because you're going to be a world of hurt pretty soon." But yeah, I ended up meeting a bunch of the right people. Plus, I had a lot of the right training working for the government, and I ended up moving in, and it turns out that it was a thing, and we happened to get in on the ground level on it. And before long, I was, senior level, and we ended up running the premier firm training wise in the country for several years. It still exists. I left, but the name of the company is Red Team Alliance. Very good at what they do.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's Deviant's. At least I know Deviant is part of the Red Team Alliance. Correct?
Yes, correct.
Yes, somebody asked if you were the Robert in one of his stories or something like that. I missed
In
it.
the armed guard story.
That is correct. That is correct. I am that Robert. I'm not sure if he still tells that story, but that was a hell of a night.
Remind me, you were the guy that walked into the building, or were the guy in the backseat?
Oh no, I was the guy in the building, and I was the guy that grabbed the credential by giving the guard a hug.
Yeah.
And it was a very awkward hug. It was I went right to the edge of gayness and just swan dove right over the edge. I held him so close, like picked him up.
Social engineering.
Yeah. There's no doubt in my mind that when I left, those guards looked at each other, because we were talking police business, There's no doubt in my mind those two guys looked at each other and were like, "Man, did you know that guy was gay? Man, I didn't know he was gay." Because at the end, I was the gayest.
Well, I mean, listen, it's 2024. There's no shame in that.
Yeah, no, not at all. Not at all. But I'm just saying, in that particular situation, it was a means to an end.
Yeah.
I see a question here. Is that field actually in demand? It is. Strictly from a physical security perspective, you're right, it is definitely niche. But when you start lumping in cyber and everything that goes along with that, it's typically under that umbrella. So to answer your question, it is very niche. There's jobs out there, but they're very, very competitive to get into. And I can talk about what that landscape looks like, and if anybody wants to get into it, how I think the best way to go about that would be.
Yeah, 'cause
sure
I'm
there's
sure.
somebody out there that would like to hear that. I'm sure.
Sure. I mean, so if you want to be a red team, let's see. What's the most exciting engagement you've ever encountered on an entry? The most exciting ones are the ones where there's guards walking around with guns and the stakes are pretty high. Those are the ones I've been involved with. There are largely probably still classified, so I can't talk about those. But that being said, I've been on some really, really excellent engagements with Fortune 100 companies where we got to get into their data centers, and some of them got pretty hairy.
Wow. Now they don't warn them ahead of time that somebody's coming or nothing.
So how it works is typically they try to keep the involvement exposure extremely limited. So you're going to have one or two people. It usually starts on the C-suite level, maybe like a chief information officer or a CEO or something like that, or a CFO. And they decide that they want to do this. And then they will contact us, sign a contract, figure out rules of engagement. And beyond that, they really try to, in order to keep the integrity of the engagement, they don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
So when I'm going in there, I'm going in there getting everyone's genuine reactions. No one's in the know. And one of the things we keep with us is we keep the engagement letter somewhere on our person in case we are stopped and we get to a point where there's no escape. And then we draw that letter and we read them into the project. Wow. But it's only if we are truly roasted that we pull that letter out.
Yeah. Wow.
Out of all the engagements I've been on, I have a near perfect track record.
I can imagine that it's almost worse to have to pull out that letter than it would have to be to go to jail.
Oh, it's
in some
It's
senses.
embarrassing. Well, it's not embarrassing. Sometimes you get caught, right? You can't help that. But I really, really wanted to maintain my perfect track record, and I would rather crawl in my grave and put a tag on my toe than pull that letter. But on my very, very last engagement with not the client you would expect to roast you, I ruined my perfect
Oh
my
goodness.
Yeah. It was.
And then you still have
What's that?
You still have the law enforcement to respect that letter, because there was a story about guys getting.
Oh yeah, there's a big red teaming firm where their two guys got engaged. They got caught on an engagement, but without going into too many specifics, they got caught in kind of a pissing contest between two people of authority. One person was read in and one person was not, and law enforcement was involved. And I think one person pulled the big PP card, and these two guys ended up getting arrested, and they had to go through a whole big process. There's you could read stories about it online.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Wow. When I got caught, it wasn't anywhere near that extravagant. I was just embarrassed and pissed at myself. It wasn't a big Fortune 100 company. This company was a very rural America company that happened to protect a particular critical infrastructure. And the reason we got caught was because we were entering an environment where everyone had that like small town familiarity.
Oh yeah.
So I was here's how I knew I was driving. Can I curse?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
This LockHeat will bleep you out.
Okay.
But it'll be delayed. The bleep will be delayed.
Excellent. Here's how I knew I was driving into Fuckville. I got in early, and I started doing some surveillance. And I mean, for my agency, I was a designated law enforcement marksman, so I was like a police sniper. So I'm pretty good at urban surveillance and rural surveillance. But I'm in the middle of this small town, and I'm observing our target, and I'm basically sitting outside of a post office, and I have my window down because one of the things I like to do is I just take in everything, all 5 senses. I take in the sights, the smells, the sounds, everything. All that helps give me a baseline of what I'm dealing with. And I'm sitting here and I'm listening to the people. I'm watching them going in and out of the post office. And not only are they actually speaking to one another, they're like referring to each other by name and like it's intimate. And this is everybody in town. I'm like, oh shit. Everybody in this town knows each other. Like we're gonna get roasted.
Yeah, they probably already noticed your car right there.
Yeah,
You're like, wonder who that guy is. He's been out there longer than 4 minutes.
So we had planned to do the engagement on a Sunday, and the thinking was very sound. This was a small town, definitely more traditionally leaning. You know, I figured everybody would be at. It just so happened I was watching Vikings the night before, the TV show Vikings, and like Ragnar waited until like everyone was at church on Sunday, and that's when they raided the Saxons or whatever. So I was like, I'm going to wait till everybody's in church on Sunday, and that's when we're going to make our entry, you know? And to our credit, everybody was at church except one guy.
Oh, jeez.
One guy who happened to be with this company for 28 years, like a lifer. He happened to see us, and once he saw me, he keyed on us like a pit bull. And there was no getting him off. It was, yeah.
I bet he got commended for, catching you guys.
Oh yeah. Well, we made a big deal out of it. You know, if someone's a hero, we make a big deal out of it. You know.
Oh, cool. I'm glad that you guys participated in that. That's good.
Oh yeah, very, very much. There's a big debrief where we talk about what was done right, what was done wrong, and that guy was a textbook example of things done right. If you see something out of place, do something about it. You know, very often we see things that are the opposite. You know, we see people that are reluctant to engage. I have video that of me doing incredibly brazen things just to try to see what's going to invoke some sort of security response. Yeah. So I'll get in the middle of a crowded like room, and I'll start pulling chairs into the center of the room, standing on the chairs, and then I'll start like putting Post-it notes over the cameras, like incredibly bizarre, scary behavior, right? Like that's police worthy, right?
Yeah.
And people don't do anything, you know.
Wow.
Or we've had female operatives. They will literally they'll get guys that will take them to the heart of a data center, just because they said they want to see what a data center looks like, and this person thinks that they may be able to score a date with them.
Right.
You know? So I have to have these tough conversations with management about, hey, the only reason we were able to get into the heart of your data center, right, and could potentially take your business down is because this guy couldn't control his pants, you know. Yeah. So it's interesting work, to say the least.
That's the part where, like, because I was looking into, like, if I wanted to put my lockpicking skills to good use, what I could do with it. You mentioned earlier, like, the physical security aspect is only one small part, and that's when I realized, like, oh, my socially awkward ass could not handle the social engineering part.
So yeah, I'll talk about kind of the big characteristics you kind of have to have on your tool belt. By the way, I saw that question. I prefer physical. My cyber foo is nowhere near where it needs to be.
Yeah.
If you want to be a red teamer, a couple of qualifications. You're going to want to be a physical person, and by physical, I don't think, like, you have to be able to do some pull-ups. You have to be in good shape. You got to be able to run. I don't think you're a full-fledged red teamer, for the most part, if you can't negotiate a simple 6-foot fence, right? Like, I don't care if you can pick a Schlage Primus on demand, with a guard around the bend. If you can't get over the fence to begin with, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So physically fit. The next thing, you don't want to be too beautiful or too handsome. You gotta be. You can't be a 9 or 10 on the attractiveness scale, because no matter what, you're going to get noticed then, right? Like,
Right.
you know, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, like they're not going to be good red teamers because they leave craters in your memory. You remember them, right?
I actually remember reading a this like article headline too that said like research shows that attractive people are actually generally deemed less trustworthy than like average or less attractive people. So that was that's also kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. For us, the purpose of the talk, I'm not sure if it's so much trustworthy, but if you leave craters in people's memory, that's not going to be a good thing for you, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, then I could never be a red teamer because I'm just so beautiful.
Now, that's not always an absolute, right? Especially the physical thing. One of the best red teamers, he wasn't a red teamer, but I learned a lot of these lessons. He was actually a private investigator, and he was probably the best guy I've ever seen at surveillance. And his name was Brian. And I first got hired as a private investigator, and I said, "Hey, I want to learn everything about this business. Who should I talk to?" And they said, "Oh, you want to talk to Brian?" And I'm like, "All right, I'll go find him. Where's he at?" And they're like, "He's in the back." And I'm walking down the hallway, and I'm looking left and right at these people that I think are going to be Brian. And I have this mental picture in my head of what a good operator looks like, you know. And I'm like, "Are you Brian?" No. Are you Brian? No. Finally, I get to the break room, and there's only one dude in the break room, and he's about 450 pounds. And I said, "Are you Brian?" He said, "Yep." And I said, "You're my guy. I got to learn from you. Everyone says you're the best." And he's like, he looked at me and he's like, "So let me ask you, did you think that I was Brian when you heard I was the best?" And I'm like, how does he know my brain right now? And I'm like, no. He's like, "Did you think that because I was so big that I couldn't possibly be excellent at my job?" And I didn't want to admit that. I was like, well, I certainly didn't see you operating quickly, you know, in my mind. I didn't want to say any of these things, you know.
Yeah.
He's like, everybody thinks that. He's like, "Don't worry about it." He's like, let's talk tax. And he's like, "My size is my cover."
That's amazing.
And I was like, Jesus, that's fucking brilliant, you know? And this dude proceeded to train me. My first mentor was like a 450 pound, like gigantic dude. And he was amazing. I learned so much from him. I'm so grateful for that opportunity. You know, he's like, this is why his knowledge of himself was awesome. He's like, look, he's like, here's why I'm so good at this. He's like, guys don't want to hang out with me, and women don't want to bang me. He's like, so I'm invisible. And I'm like, he's like, even though I'm 450 pounds, I'm invisible. I can walk anywhere. He's like, all I need is a Lunchable and a book. And I watched this guy with a Lunchable and a book go places he had no business going. And it was amazing.
Wow.
Amazing lesson.
Okay, taking notes.
It's such a wild story. I wish I still knew where that guy. I wish I knew where he ended up, because I would love to thank him. I would love to, you know, definitely hook him up with some gear for sure. You know.
Wow.
So
Maybe it'll happen at some point. You'll reconnect.
Yeah.
So a cucumber in chat says, "Okay, taking notes. How to get into red teaming? Eat 12 cheeseburgers a meal and shower once a month." God.
Yes. Eat a White Castle crave case every day, and not shower.
At least you keep people away from you if you don't shower. They just keep on walking like, oh,
Yeah.
never mind.
Well, if you don't shower too much, then it'll work the opposite way. Like it'll start going the opposite way and then make you noticeable even more.
Yeah, that's true too. There is an inverse to that for sure.
You just
Yeah.
need to.
Some other characteristics we look for. Quick thinking, being able to, if all of a sudden you're confronted by somebody, you got to come up with a plausible story quickly because the clock is ticking. And if you have too long of a delay in your reaction, people aren't going to trust you, right? And here's how you can tell. People will come up to you and they will ask, hey, are you okay? And when you hear that pattern of that sequence of words, you think like, oh, he's wondering if I'm okay. Like, no, he's not. What he's really telling me is he's not okay with me explain myself. He's given me an opportunity before I call the police. You know what I mean?
Right.
So having a cover story ready, being able to improv on the fly is definitely at a premium, especially when it comes to tool creation. Being able to pick and get things open with tools is one thing, but a lot of times you have metal detectors, a lot of times you have screening, you can't bring this stuff in. So you're going to have to manufacture a lot of this stuff on the fly with stuff that you're going to find around the office. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's the true like hallmark of understanding. Like, okay, you know what lock you're up against. You know what this security mechanism is. You don't have your picks. What can you MacGyver around the office to get to that next step?
Yeah. And I'd assume that actually picking the lock is like not as much something that you guys do. I'm not saying that you guys don't pick locks, but I think that there'd be a lot of other things to do before picking the lock.
The least important part, probably, or the least
100%. Well,
the easiest thing to learn, probably, because the rest's not something. Sometimes you can't learn those things. It's just things that are, something you have or you don't have already.
So you have to have the ability to pick because locks are the gatekeepers of a lot of things. And if you can't compromise simple locks like desk drawer locks and safe box convenience safe boxes and things like that, you're not going to get access to the better level keys that you need. So you have to be able to pick some locks. You got to be able to pick at least commercial door locks. That being said, part of the recon process, you don't have to be like an LPU black belt picker level, right? Because if you guys know, because you've done this, right? There are things that you can pick that are incredibly complex internally, right? But you can only pick them in very specific competition-like settings. It's not a skill that you could summon on demand, under pressure for sure.
Yeah.
And a time limit. So if I see a lock that is of that caliber, and we do, I'm observing it usually with a spotter scope from 400 or 500 feet away, visually identifying it, and then, making a note. Okay, well, I'm not going to be able to go through that door. I'm going to have to figure out another way around, right? Because the moment I start genuflecting in front of a door and start picking is the moment I begin to look very suspicious, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Let's see. Men and women make equally good red teamers. A good team is comprised of both. There are definite advantages for men, and then there are definite advantages for women. For men, it's very easy to sell kind of power positions, law enforcement positions. It's very easy to sell construction positions. But there are things that men just cannot do. So, for example, if I'm doing recon or if I'm following, somebody and I want to try to get close enough to clone their badge, now I'll follow them wherever I need to follow them. So if they're on lunch break and I follow them into Target, so be it, Now, say that person is a woman and she's standing in the lingerie aisle, right? How long can I linger there without looking suspicious? You know,
Yeah.
I can't.
Right.
Right.
I thought you meant more along the lines of like men can't have babies and stuff.
Oh no, not that. That's outside the scope of this.
I'm just joking.
Men also, you know, another weakness of men is like we can't get close to people like women can. So like if I come up and I try to touch somebody, right? Like that's weird. If you look at a bunch of guys standing around, they don't touch each other. There's not a lot of movement typically, you know, but a female operator can get right up close, touch you, you know, and nobody really bats an eyelash about it. They're just inherently less threatening. It's more normal to touch. They can definitely flow better in proxemic zones better than men can. Women have hella more disguise options than guys do. What with things you could do with your hair, with your makeup, you guys can change very, very easily.
Yeah. Yeah. Even wearing
you know,
just layers of clothing, things like that.
Yeah. My wife was a red teamer for Walmart. Met her on the job. She's awesome, and you know she can do things. She was able to do more with a smile and a laugh than I was able to do with a week's worth of recon, threatening, bribing, conniving, scheming, all the INGs. And like she would just bat her eyelashes, smile, and like just get walked right through the front door.
Yeah.
And she knew it, you know, like deadly, absolutely deadly. So a good team has a mix of both.
That's really cool.
Let's see. Technically diverse, you know. Flippers are awesome. Use them for sure. Let's see. What else you guys want to talk about?
Well, that all sounds really fun.
It's definitely fun. Here's where people fuck this up though. So the last qualification is being a good writer. And I know a lot of good people who would make fantastic red teamers from an entry perspective, only to drop the ball because they can't string a couple sentences together well in the written form, right? In the end, the client doesn't care about your red team experience, even though you think that's the sexy part for you. The client cares about the product. That is the report, the deliverable. And if you can't put together a clear, concise report, you know, on some of these jobs, we're delivering reports a couple weeks later that are 100 pages long. And you got to be able to write those reports. And if you can't, you're not going to last very long.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's very interesting that you mentioned that as well.
Sure. They're doing this all over the world.
Yeah.
That's some cool stuff.
So let me see.
Well, even that, like, I mean, being able to, you know, talk about it, I'm sure you guys figure it out together, you know, and being able to put it to words is something that I'm sure is pretty useful towards building, you know, systems that you guys can rely on and reference. Yeah.
I mean, you can, once you've done it once or twice on a large level, you can kind of build your product and then it's kind of just cherry pick what needs to be pulled. And then you can start cobbling those reports together a lot easier. It's not like you have to generate an original report for every client, because that would make me kill myself. A lot of times I'm just inserting, you know, the vulnerability, inserting the response, things like that. But I already have a very broad framework that I'm working off of, and you know, I'm just substituting some words here and there, you know.
All right.
Did I answer the last question? I didn't. I'm not sure if I saw it. Yeah. So besides the one guy that roasted us dead to rights, one of the funnier ones was Dave and I were working a job together, and we had already compromised the facility. And once we get in, we circle back and we talk to whoever our handler is, and we say, all right, look, we're in. You still have time left on the engagement. Let's not waste it. Let's continue to gain data points. What would you like to learn? What would you like us to do? And typically one of the things that they do is they have us start to go high vis. So up until that point, we've been very low vis and surreptitious about it. But then what they want to do is they want to figure out what's going to make people call the police or call security, right?
Right.
So we'll start doing things like we'll pull out an underdoor tool, we'll open up a server room door, and then we'll put a door wedge in there, and that's like setting off all kinds of alarms, And we went into a building, and now mind you, we have fake credentials around our neck, That's one of the first order of businesses that we do is we make ourselves look like an employee, right? But we were just going around data centers and we propped open like 10 doors, just left them open, right? For all the people to come in and out of. And they're like, Jesus Christ, we got to send some security after these guys. So they did. They sent these 2 security guys, and they finally catch us. And then they're like, what are you guys doing? And we're like, well, we're testing the integrity of the door alarms. And they're like, yeah, but you're propping them open. We're like, we're just trying to figure out which ones we've opened, those help us keep track. And we're like, are we in trouble? And at this point we're getting ready to like pull out the letter,
Oh man.
And we're about to give this guy the letter, and the guard looks at us. He's like, no. He's like, you're not in trouble. He's like, I can see from the badges, you clearly work here. You just can't be doing that. And we're just like, oh man, this guy just snatched defeat out of the jaws of victory.
Man.
And they totally let us go. And that was one of the
Did anything like that ever cause someone to get fired?
So let me say it. I'm trying to. Yes, short answer is yes. And then we very, very quickly changed the language of all of our contracts. So we got tasked to break into a company that was getting involved in the, without getting too specific, self-driving car business. And we were able to get in very, very easily. As a matter of fact, it was the company that the hug story. So we ended up going in, and we ended up, basically getting every target that we wanted. We were even, I was even going to steal one of the self-driving cars and show up to the after action report with it. The only reason I didn't is because I would have had to drive down a loading dock that was very, very precarious, and I didn't want to destroy the thing.
Right.
But I had heard, so right after the engagement, we didn't know, everything was fine. We thought everything was good. And I ended up talking to the guy just at Black Hat, maybe 6 months later. And I said, hey, whatever happened after you did your event, And he said, it's like, oh man, they fired everybody. They fired everybody involved in security.
Wow.
And I was like, I was devastated. I was absolutely crushed. I'm like, why would they fire all the people that were involved? I'm like, those are actually people that have been educated now. Like, why would you fire them? And the guy that I guess engaged the red team, like initiated the red team engagement, he just wanted to make an example out of somebody, and he fired everybody, which is a terrible thing. I felt crushed because, I got into this for fun. I got involved in this to be educational, right? Like what we are is basically a vaccination, right?
Uh-huh.
We come in and we emulate a threat, but without actually being the threat,
Right.
So we're almost like immunizing you, and then we tell you how to fix all
especially because now you know what.
That's an interesting way to think about it.
Pulling
That's very
out all
cool.
the stops.
Yeah.
And,
So what they did was they took all the people that were immunized with all this cool knowledge that we gave them, and they just fired them, and then they replaced them with people who were just as likely to make the same mistakes as all these people.
That's great.
We just compromised, but now knew better. So you made your position weaker. I didn't understand it, So aside from being like morally bad, it was not tactically smart, And we sat down and I said, look, I've been unemployed, like for a large part of my life, I didn't have any money. I was like one check engine light away from, ramen or going back home to my parents' basement, So because I felt that sting of being unemployed, I never wanted to send another human being there for sure, and we wrote into the contract that all of these red team engagements are for educational purposes only, right? And we added some insurance on that. Like, look, if there's the possibility of people being terminated, right, then the person who terminates them is also in scope. You know what I'm saying? So like,
right.
If I think that you're the kind of person that might fire them, I'm going to try you as the vector first. This way, if you're going to fire somebody, you're going to be the one that's going to, so that's how we tried to go about it. And then ever since that first engagement, to my knowledge, no one's been fired, at least that didn't deserve it. Right.
Well, when you explain it the way that you explained it, where it's like the immunization thing and how it's educational for people and people can make mistakes, but after you guys do your whole thing, that's the whole point of what you're doing to help teach people the right way to do it. It makes sense. It's compelling. And I think that like that would make sense, for a CEO to follow your advice on that.
And they usually do. Right. And here's the thing, like we have to be honest, these guys that are guards or these people that are just regular employees, but a lot of these guards, they're only $15 or $20 an hour positions, right? They're entry level, right? Like they're not prepared to deal with a dude that's been trained by the NSA. Like that's not fair. Like we're going to get in, It's making sure that they're educated properly so that they can do their job better. That's all.
That's like getting mad at a white belt
way
for
around,
not being able to beat a black belt in jiu-jitsu.
Exactly. Like if you're a white belt and you've ever tried to roll with a brown belt or a black belt, it's like fighting somebody that's like from the Matrix.
If you ever come to a point that you get into a building and you see too bad shit, like you have to report it to some third-party agency, like they are doing bad things. I don't know if I said this correctly.
I'm not sure I completely understand the question. Have I ever discovered a company doing bad things? Is that the question?
Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah.
So companies, not so much. Individual people, yes. Especially we've had people that have had things on their computer that they have no business having that are highly illegal, and I make sure that I get law enforcement involved.
Good. Well,
yeah,
I think that we can imagine what kind of stuff that would be.
Yeah, you can imagine the kind of stuff that would, now it's not like, okay, this guy's got World of Warcraft on his computer like that. I don't give a shit about it, right? But if you have something with children on your computer, or if I see like other criminal activity, I'm going to make sure somebody knows about it. Have I ever been?
That's crazy. Yeah, but I can imagine you guys see all sorts of crazy things.
Yeah, you do, especially when like people don't expect to be,
looked into,
surveilled or looked into. Yeah, because it's very invasive, right? It's very invasive. Like I go through people's drawers, like in their offices, right? I go through all their drawers. I go through journals and things like that, and just so you know, this is not like normal companies that engage people to do this, right? It's like bigger companies that these people technically don't have that right to what I mean? Like they're
it's no
Nothing
right to
home, yeah.
privacy where
they
they're
basically kind of already signed by virtue of the fact that they're working there that like your workstation is monitored, right? Like you don't have that privacy, So yeah, we go through a lot of stuff, and it's invasive. One of the things that I would do, my favorite things, is I would follow around the security guards, and I would lock them out of their vehicles. I would wait till they go into lunch. I would steal their jackets, their clipboards, and I would become them, right? And sometimes we take their stuff, like this. And I wanted to give this guy his jacket back, and he didn't want to see me. He didn't want to get called out, kind of getting his jacket back.
jeez.
Yeah.
All right.
We also tried to steal radios too. So the same guy that I stole his jacket, I also stole his radio. So now I'm listening to them talk over the radio about like my partners that are also compromising the facility, and they're trying to track them down. And every time somebody says something poignant over the radio, I just press the transmit button and interrupt it. Just interrupt. And like it's driving everybody nuts. I'm just killing them with dead air. I'm sitting on a rock, and just having this radio is like the ultimate weapon.
Man,
You ever played Payday 2?
I have not.
Payday 2 or Ready or Not. It just makes me think of it just makes me think of those two video games like in real life almost.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Because in Payday 2,
Well, it definitely sounds like a real life video game.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome.
Payday 2.
Until you got to write the report, and it's more like school.
Yeah. In Payday 2, you play.
There's some video games like that.
Bank robbers. And then in Ready or Not, actually in Ready or Not, you play as a team of SWAT officers, so it's a little different, but it's still very much like stealth and tactics and everything. But I did just want to hop in to say I am gonna have to depart from the stream, unfortunately, because a friend of mine has had something come up.
Snake, we'll have a good one, buddy.
Thank you everyone for having me.
Take care, Snake.
Have I ever been locked in somewhere? No. I have locked myself in elevators. That was a good place, especially if there's multiple elevators in like an elevator bank. It's a good place to kind of hide. I hijack an elevator and I just hang out in there. As far as being locked in somewhere, no, I have not.
Yeah, I know Deviant Olam has talked about using elevators for that reason as well.
Yeah. He's definitely one of the authorities on elevators for sure.
Yeah.
Have you ever had to call security for help? No. Now, if there was one time I thought I was going to have a problem, and I was out in a company in Silicon Valley. It was a Silicon Valley company, but it was out in a more rural area. I was doing surveillance, and a lot of times I do surveillance by myself. So I'll put on my ghillie suit and I'll bring my backpack out there, and I'll start army crawling around. And what I try to do is I try to get close to vehicle checkpoints, and I want to watch the watchers and watch what's the entry protocol, so I can get an idea of how I can get in. Anyway, I'm doing some surveillance, and I get the sense that like I'm smelling something, and I smell a cigarette, and I'm moving around very, very quietly. I don't smoke.
So true.
I realize that I'm not the only one out there, and there are a couple of homeless folk that are literally had a camp on company property, and they weren't more than about 20 feet away from me.
Oh no.
And I had to sneak past them, without them knowing. And then I was like, well, now what do I do? Do I tell the company about them? And then they get kicked off, and then they got to go be in a doorway instead, So it was one of those kind of moral dilemmas where I snuck past them and I never told anybody that they were there,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that was the right choice or the wrong choice. I just didn't want to see them get displaced. They seemed like they weren't smoking crack. You know what I mean? It was just a regular cigarette. And, I looked around, I saw books and stuff like that. So I was like, they don't seem like they're strung out on chemicals. They're just
right.
Crazy. They're just, so.
That's interesting. My mind, like right away when you first brought up that you saw that, my mind jumped to the fact that like, of course you would tell the company and like let them know, and it would be the like whatever that you were doing that. In fact, I was even thinking that you might even try to use them as like a distraction potentially to get, somewhere or whatever. But then, the fact that you're actually there seeing it with your own eyes and like involved in the situation, had to make a judgment call and stuff, that totally changes the perspective.
Yeah, there's a lot of judgment calls.
Interesting to hear.
There's a lot of judgment calls that you're going to have to make on the spot, And like I said, the calculus that went into that decision is I didn't perceive them to be dangerous.
Right.
It wasn't like they were watching the place, sitting there watching the place and doing something weird they shouldn't have been either,
Exactly. They had obviously been there for some time. They had a little like perimeter alarm of like pots and pans. It was very interesting.
Wow.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So, they were there for a while, and, if I got onboarded, if it was a problem that everyone knew about, or it was a real problem, they would have let me know, hey, we got a problem with homeless in the area and stuff like that, be careful. Right. So yeah, now, I have had, I was doing surveillance and I was in Philadelphia, and somebody absolutely tried to steal our car while I was in it. I felt somebody like literally pulling on the handle of the door, and the car was shaking. And because Mama didn't raise a fool, I was 100% armed, but I was also smart enough to know, like, surveillance 101 in a vehicle, lock your fucking doors, right? Like,
right.
Because of reasons like that.
Wow. Yeah, I imagine there's a lot of things you'd have to learn before you'd even think about stuff like that.
Yeah. Could you? Well, you learn about this stuff on the job, Could you apprehend security for access? What do you mean by apprehend? Like take somebody down?
Or hostage or that sort of stuff.
Yeah, no, we're definitely not allowed to go hands-on with anybody. Even when I did it for the government, where we were getting on military bases and stuff like that, it's forbidden to go hands-on with people.
Yeah, it's like people's rights and stuff.
I wish it was like Metal Gear, where I could apply a rear naked choke and then put them in a locker, But it's definitely not.
Take the security guards to the chair and roll them into the locker there.
Honestly, fun fact for you, obviously I've never done that to anybody else, but when I was a little kid, older kids did that to me once. They stuffed me in a locker.
Oh, it sucks.
Totally sucks. But the cool news is they didn't lock the locker, so I was able to get out, Let's see. You guys had enough red team talk? You want to switch to CI talk, or what do you guys want to do?
Well, it's all interesting. I'm up for whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever everybody else wants.
All right. Well, let's see. Hold on. Did I answer Zeph's question?
was Steph's. I missed it.
I know I saw one pop up. I just want to make sure I answered everybody. Does anybody see his question?
Oh, I think he was just asking about a construction core master key or something. Oh,
Will you have the green? No. I found that the green is the most useful one. Stocking some of the other stuff is, they're not fast movers. Let's see. All right. Do you want me to? Let's see. I'm waiting to see before I pull the full set of Moki. So we are still actively vetting the profiles for the advanced pick sets. We have a bunch of experimental and new kind of profiles that we're working with. We are having a round table in the not so distant future of a lot of high level pickers that are going to come out, and they're going to get examples of all of them, and they're going to let us know how they work. And then we're going to do kind of like a process of elimination, what should be included and what should not be. And then we're going to cobble our sets together. But right now, I know what the handles look like. I know what the construction is going to be. But the profiles, I do not know. I don't know yet. Yeah. So a lot of the tools that we have are physical pen testing tools. The big question is are we going to get involved in electronic attacks? It's absolutely an area that I would like to come into. But right now I would have to hire multiple people that have advanced skill sets in order to be able to help troubleshoot issues for customers. And right now we're just not there yet. We're focusing on other things.
Okay, we got some people wanting to talk about covert instrument stuff, so I guess we can move along to some of that stuff.
That's all right.
Everybody's excited about that.
Let me just answer Jay Gabriel here. Last time you talked about selling single picks, are you probably going to set up a way to actually build a complete set using that method and probably get so how it's going to there's almost certainly no scenario where you're going to be able to cobble together a completely unique set of like 20 picks. Once we have all those profiles, you'll be able to buy individual picks, but I don't know if we're ever going to go that crazy where we're going to be able to cobble stuff together like on that level. It's just, once again, that's something that other vendors can get away with. We can't because of the volume. Another company might only have 2 or 3 orders like that, but the moment I put something like that live, I'll have hundreds of orders a day like that. And it's just not something that we can do right now.
Howdy, y'all.
What's up, man?
Not much. Thought I'd join y'all.
Sure.
Hello. Who's that?
It's Nathan.
Oh, hey, Nathan.
What up, Nathan?
Not much. Joined a while ago. So saw your guys were having some fun. I just got this Schlage Primus in today, so I figured I'd jump on and start picking with y'all.
Nice.
Good luck on that Primus.
That is the government lock du jour right there. They love those Schlage Primuses.
Yeah, I have a buddy who's in the Navy, and he was just like, "Oh, I'm gonna learn how to pick this. It's gonna make my boss so mad." Reach
to Forest Diamond. That is on the table. That'll be coming out when everything else comes out. So what it's kind of going to look like, I think, when we release the Apex line, there's probably going to be 5 sets of picks that are going to be released at launch. And they're going to be 25 thou, 20 thou, and 15 thou. Wow. So there's going to be an assortment. There's going to be a little bit for everybody once we drop the injection molded plastic handled picks. We didn't want to put the Genesis profile out already because a lot of people have Genesis, a lot of people have Echelon. We wanted to make sure that there was going to be something for more advanced pickers. It's been, it's in my eyes, it's time that we make sure we address those folks. By the way, is Trucking Lock on here?
I saw him earlier, but I don't know if he's still on. He might be.
Check and see if he still is on here, because he did us a kindness. There was a fellow that from Australia that he did a review on the Echelon, and he was critical of it. And I watch anything that is critical of our products because that's where I learn the most. But he popped up right in the comments, and he defended our methodology, and he was spot on. So I just wanted to give him kudos and thank him for that.
Thank you for that.
Yeah,
LadyLocks.
if you're on, holler.
Yeah, Trucker also just got his first black belt lock.
Oh, hell yeah.
The Gold Z picked.
Hell yeah.
Just this week.
Good for him.
Yeah, that's just a major
LadyLocks.
milestone for him.
LadyLocks, can you hold the fort for a minute because I have to reboot my machine. It's
Sure.
getting unresponsive. Be back in a minute.
Sure.
So how about I tell you about launching covert instruments and how crazy that fucking was.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be fun.
So
That'd be a good story.
So what people don't realize, I started covert instruments with LPL. I own the IP I own the domain Covert Instruments since 2015, and I was just sitting on it, and I was looking for the right strategic partner, and I happened to get to know LPL, and we really hit it off, and he was very. So I'm not really sure he believed in it. But he's like, look, I'm like, we got to figure out, who's going to own what of the company, and I didn't say anything. I was just kind of silent. And he's like, oh no, we're going to do this 50-50. And the reality of it is like, I would have done it for much, much less. But he's like, look, I can't run the company. And he's like, you've got ideas. And he's like, if this is going to work, it's going to be because of you, and you're going to earn your half, Yeah. So he was very, very generous in the beginning, with respect to ownership of the company. Now, when it came to putting up money, as you might imagine, someone who was a lawyer, a high-powered attorney for a long time, has some money. He also had, when I first linked up with him, he had over 1 million subscribers, so he was established and he was getting some of that YouTube money. He had money is basically what I'm saying. What he doesn't know, I've told him since then, but what he didn't know at the time was we were trying to buy our inventory to start, and what he doesn't know is he put up 50 grand, and he had 50 grand, right? I did so. I cashed out my retirement, and I cashed out every dollar that I owned in this world.
Oh.
And if this thing went south, like I was toast. I was absolutely toast, But like he's like, what do you think? 50 grand? And I'm like, and I'm doing the math, and I'm like, yeah, let's do that. He's like, you think we need more? And I'm like, no, we don't need more. I'm like, I don't fucking have any more. Like that's it. That's every dollar in my, in the world to me, and my retirement, right? What little retirement I had at the time,
Right.
And so that was our initial So before we even get to it, we had a bunch of products, but our flagship product was going to be the Covert Companion. And the Covert Companion, the world's first Covert Companion, was like at least in Covert Companion, right? Like lots of people have put things on keychains and all kinds of things like that, but like a comprehensive bypass suite of tools. I put the first one together, in like 2014, and it was the ugliest jank thing ever, right? And I was teaching with Dave and Bobik and the core group at the time, and I pulled this thing out in front of everybody. Like thousands of people saw this before it actually became a real deal product, and it's amazing to me that nobody at that moment, anybody could have knocked that idea off and
Right.
where I'm sitting now. And just for some reason, no one did it until like 2020 when I put it out there.
Yeah.
But it was the ugliest thing. Some of the folks that are coming to the round table will actually see it. It looks like a Sputnik. It really looks kind of retarded, for lack of a better word. Sorry. Very jank. Another thing that I kind of want to bring up as well, because it's funny that this happened. I never designed the Covert Companion to be a lockpick, which is one of my biggest surprises of running this company. Was like it became a lockpick for a lot of people, and I'm like, really? Like, but at first I didn't know, and I hear rumblings like, oh yeah, I pick with it. I'm like, really? Really? What a terrible picking experience. You know what I mean? Like I prefer full size picks. Let's be clear,
Yeah.
The Covert Companion was designed not for picking in mind at all. And I don't know if anybody remembers way back in the day when it first dropped, but like it had 4 picks on it, but I didn't even include a turning tool.
Right? Yeah, I have that one.
Yeah, it was just so you had it if you ever needed it, The whole idea behind the Covert Companion was an everyday carry thing that you can throw in your glove box or in your backpack and be able to quick and dirty bypass most of the shit in North America. That was the use case profile that I imagined for the Covert Companion. I was former law enforcement, former SWAT guy, and that's what I wanted. I wanted to have that in one small package with me. I was also tired of anytime I locked myself out of the house, my tools were inside the house. Like talk about something that makes you feel like an idiot. Like if you have the skills to pick this lock very, very easily, but you don't have the tools, but you lose your superpower. You go back to just being a putz like everybody else. I wanted to have something in my, in my glove box that I can get back into wherever I needed to get to. So it evolved into a picking tool. In my opinion, it's not a good picking tool, but people have become incredibly good at it. People have adapted their hand position almost to like they're holding a straight razor, and they can pick extremely well with it. LPL, I mean, he picked with it in his videos. He got very, very good at picking that way.
Right.
But then again, if I'm being honest, he's probably the most gifted picker I've ever seen. The things that he can do consistently and reliably under pressure, I've never seen anybody else do, and he was able to modify his techniques incredibly quickly to picking with a Covert Companion. So kudos to him for being amazing at it. We started in the basement of my house. I basically had an extra not to code guest bedroom in my basement.
Nice.
And Covert Instruments. Yeah. Covert Instruments was basically 2 racks of material and inventory. It was not a lot to look at. That 100,000 went real fast in small parts. And basically it was a computer monitor and a 3D printer and a camera. And a website that we put together, LPL and I. And alcohol was a factor in designing it at first, and that's where we started.
And you said it lasted that long. It lasted for how long, Robert?
So yeah,
Like 10 minutes or something?
Yeah. So it was just me. The agreement was and always has been, LPL is the marketing arm of the company, right? And I'm the operational arm. So he was safely removed in another state. And it was basically me just kind of holding down the fort. And he launched that first video on a Friday the 13th in the middle of a pandemic. And, I was like, I knew the response was going to be, pretty solid, but I had no idea. I had no idea the fire hose that was the internet. Right. So
especially because it all changed for the pandemic too. I mean, I don't think many people expected for things to turn, everything was like internet from that point on, because there was just no other way to get things. Really, everything was closed, and it was
that was the cool thing about it. The timing of it, while it sounded like the worst timing in the world, it was actually the best timing in the world. Right. It was the beginning of the direct to consumer boom. We were just ahead of the wave, and people were about to be flush with a lot of COVID money. Most time. A lot of people had a lot more disposable income and a lot of time on their hands, and they were looking for new hobbies, and we were positioned to deliver there. So yeah, you're right. I was in my basement like Schmiegel, and LPL puts the video out at 9:00, and I'm watching the metrics, and at first nothing happens, right? And then 9:01, the first customer shows up on the website, and I'm like, yes, and from that point on, from 9:01 to 9:05, I went from having one session to having 65,000 simultaneous sessions on the website.
Man.
And then I realized the sales started coming in. I realized there was no way I was going to be able to do this. I was by myself. It was literally me. I had my wife, I was like, if I need help, I got my wife. She can help me. She's my trusty number 2. She's got this, So things go batshit crazy it starts in the first 5 minutes, and it went, for a long time. But anyway, I'm on the phone with LPL by 9:15. I'm like, dude, I need you down here. I need Mayday. I know I said you can stay up there, but no, I lied. You got to come back down. And he ends up, about an hour later, he shows up at my house, and we're watching this thing go absolutely wild, wild.
Gosh.
And thousands of sales on the first day, and we're sitting, and it's just him and I, and we're trying to figure out processes for everything, and we're picking in things all from my dining room table, and my wife is helping me run up and down the stairs and bring product up, and we're stuffing envelopes and things like that, running the staples.
Yeah, you didn't even have a chance to, even get get the ropes. It was
oh no, that's
nothing yesterday and everything today.
I got smacked with the full fire hose of a viral internet company.
That's correct.
And it's not like I was an entrepreneur by training. I definitely was not. I was an entrepreneur by circumstance. I was doing this because, I wanted to make some more money. I had my wife was pregnant with my daughter, and I wanted to make a change, and I wanted to be in control of my destiny, and but yeah, so LPL gets here, and we're sitting at the table, and by the end of the day, we get probably 500 or 600 orders ready to go, and we got thousands more in the queue that have to go out the door. And I'll never forget, LPL's wife calls, and he's got her on speakerphone, and she's like, "How you doing? Is good?" And LPL looks at me, and I look at him, and yeah, he's like, "Yes, it's good. It's great. It's great." And she's like, "Okay, when you come home. He looks at me, and I'm looking around at like this giant stack of envelopes that's now
You're there not yet. You ain't leaving.
it's literally like we're only 10% of the way done, and I have a stack of envelopes in my living room the size of like a Volkswagen Bug. Like it's just envelopes and a couch. And he looks at me, and I look at that, and I look at him, and I'm like, when it's done? And LPL looks at me, and goes, okay, when it's done. He goes, when it's done. She's like, okay. And honestly, like he ended up staying at my house. Like when it's done, took 7 days.
Wow.
Took 7 days of working. We sold everything we had by the end of the second day.
Wow.
And you know, it took us 7 days of stuffing envelopes and going to the post office to get it all out the door.
So long story short is you commandeered LPL from his wife for a whole week.
I totally monopolized him. Yep. But I mean, I'm sure he went home and it was a good night for him anyway. You know.
Yeah. That's a really cool story. I'm really happy for you guys.
Thanks, man. I mean, I got some crazy stories. So like, that's just the beginning of it. That was the point where I realized we couldn't operate it out of my house.
Yeah.
Like that was the tactical error on my part, right? But like
the Volkswagen sitting in the middle of the room, you're like, yeah, this can't happen.
Yeah.
We got a baby coming.
So that level of volume and complexity was only the beginning. That was only the first of our problems. Shit got real hairy real fast. So we were a completely new entity that didn't exist, right? And then all of a sudden we were a store that had thousands of sales.
Wow.
And that doesn't happen, right? So some crazy shit happened. So PayPal saw that we had so much money coming in that they thought we were funding terrorists.
Yeah.
And they shut down our PayPal. They locked us out of our PayPal.
Of that. I've heard of people saying that, like, and it's like right when they need that money to like reinvest and shit, and they're like, "Oh no, we have to clear this up." That was
exactly it. So if PayPal was our sole payment processor provider, they would have single-handedly put us out of business on day one because we didn't get that money released for 4 months.
Yeah, that's
crazy. Whoa.
Yeah,
the only reason we were able to continue doing business is because we were hosted on, you know, a popular like shopping website, and
thank goodness.
You know, they didn't impede us from getting our funds, right? They knew it wasn't terrorism, you know. Right. So like, thank God we were able to get enough through them to float us, you know, through the holidays. And then, so that was the first like really, really catastrophic thing that hit us. And then the second thing was on December 23rd of 2020, the post office lost an entire truckload of our parcels.
Oh my God.
550 orders went missing. You know, and
were they liable?
They don't give up. So I learned a lot about the post office. So the first rule of post office is they don't give a fuck, right? You know,
right.
I am very, very intimately familiar with the post office, and trusting if they lost an entire postal truck of our stuff, right? You really trust them with voting? Like,
yeah, really.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
But the crazy thing about it, here was the scary thing about it. Because it's a government agency, they're not answerable to anybody. I would have had much better luck with UPS or FedEx than I would with the post office. They just don't give a shit, right? They lost 550 packages somewhere in Richmond, and we had no idea where it went. But we were faced with a quandary. We have 550 people now that lost their stuff. like right before Christmas. So we're like, dude, what are we gonna do? And I sat down with LPL and I said, look, are we in agreement? We're gonna have to replace every single one of these things, and we're gonna have to do it right now. And he's like, I 100% agree. He's like, that is a reputational hit. Like I know a lot of LPL took a lot of flack from the community for reasons I don't quite understand, but he's got integrity and I have integrity, and we weren't going to shaft anybody, and we weren't going to wait until the post office got their ass together, got their act together. We replaced every one of those orders the next day and got them out. So we tried to get satisfaction from the post office, and they basically told us to F off at every level. I got our local senator involved, our local representative involved, and our state senator and local representative, and even that didn't unfuckulate things.
Wow.
We just lost
that
like
adjective.
we just lost like $70,000 worth of stuff, and we made good on it, And
Yeah, so basically that was like what? So if you lost $7,000, then made good on it, that's another $7,000 plus shipping for everything.
So exactly. That was a gigantic 6-figure brouhaha, right? And we thought we heard the end of it. Like we thought it was over, and then sometime we had made all those people whole. Sometime in April, we get an email from a customer. Hey, you'll never believe what happened. You know that thing that went missing? You guys put it out there on Instagram. You guys called it Shipping Shitfest. That's actually what we call it, Shipping Shitfest. Like, hey, so I just got mine, and I knew that they were all together, and I'm like, no way, they found it, right? Next thing I know, I start like investigating, and the post office found it. Apparently it was just like a giant, so they must have transferred everything to a giant like mine cart sized bin, all those orders, right? And then put a tarp over it and forgot about it for 5 months or 4 months or however long it was, right? And somebody just happened to move the tarp and find it. Now, instead of doing the smart thing and calling us
and let you guys know
and letting us know, you know what they did?
They just redelivered it.
They just sent them all to the customers, so everybody got double the product. Everybody got double the product. And now here's where, at this point, my faith in humanity is at a pretty low, a pretty low point. Here's where faith in humanity got restored. Guess what? What do you think happened?
A lot of people sent that back to you, huh?
Because we did the right thing, and we made everybody whole, and we told everybody about it. Like, we didn't hide it. We didn't try to sweep it under the rug. We didn't try to hide the fact that something bad happened. We totally owned it. We said, look, this is what happened. We owned it, and wouldn't you know it, like 90% of it came back.
Wow,
that's crazy.
Like 90% people sent it back on their own dime at regular postage rates, because they respected the fact that how we conducted ourselves.
Yeah,
it was just wild.
That is pretty wild. That people sent it back. That's pretty wild. You'd expect some, but that's a lot. That's a high amount of people that actually came through.
It was unbelievable, and like it really warmed my heart. It spoke volumes about LPL's community, right? Just everyone, most of the people were just class act, and it was awesome.
Yeah, I have noticed that most lock sporters, lock pickers are pretty damn decent people. I mean, out of the whole world of people that I know, these are some of the best people that I know. Some people would be surprised at how honest lock pickers are.
Yeah, it totally is. I mean, now we got some weird ones, right? Like we're totally an island of misfit toys, right? But yeah, by and large, everyone is pretty awesome.
By the way, I'm back already, but I can't use my camera anymore because it's.
Well, I'm pretty weird myself.
On my computer.
Yeah, I mean, so am I.
We can
gotta
hear you,
say-
Lucky. We might not be able to see you, but we can hear you.
How
A
many
voice
people
from
we got?
beyond the veil.
How many people we got in here still? I can't see the number.
It looks like we've got
50.
47. 50? Okay.
Cool. Any questions, or should I keep serenading you guys with interesting and silly stories?
Rob, I just wanted to say I was tremendously surprised when I went to DEF CON 31 and Lockpicking Dev was actually kind of giving me like this cheesy grin all the time that we were setting up the tool village. And I'm just like, what the heck are you smiling about, man? And he was just in the chat, so hopefully you get to see this later. But he's just like,
He's a cool
man,
guy, by the way.
yeah, he's excellent. I love him. He's probably one of my best friends that I've made while at DEF CON. And every year I look forward to getting to see him. But no, he was just like smiling from ear to ear. And I'm like, what are you smiling at? And he says, I know something that we're getting this year and we get to sell it. I'm like, what are you going on about? Anyway, as I start opening box after box after box and start seeing CI logo coming out, I look up at him and he still has that cheesy grin on his face. I'm like, you motherfucker, you knew this.
So without going too much into the details, our arrangement with Tool is we give them. Tool has been really instrumental in bringing lock sport to the community, right? And one of the things that was really important to us is that we give back to them. And we don't have any distributor agreements in place with anybody, but one organization that we do look out for is Tool. And we basically give them stuff at cost because it's important to us in order to further the sport. So yeah, we give them probably the best terms that they will ever get from any company ever. And we're in the position to do it. Most other companies couldn't do it financially, but we do. And it's all in the service of giving back to the community. A lot of people don't know that. Hopefully that information gets out and goes a little far and wide, but it's important to us to give back.
Yeah, I look forward to going and helping out at Tool every year at DEF CON. I've been going for about 3 years straight now. And it's always fun to get there and see kind of like the wide and vast community that they have. And, you know, starting out at like DEF CON 30, I had no idea about anything other than like what Deviant Olum like was posting out about Tool. And I thought just to support the cause, I became a member. But when I got there, I was very shocked to see like how many people have been in the game for how long. And I got to meet a lot of incredible people. One of my favorite guys, he takes himself extremely seriously, but he's also he's a serious when it comes to making sure that Tool does right and everybody stays on track. I only know him as Max Power. He's
awesome.
He's awesome. He's a great dude. I love hanging out with all of them.
He's a New Englander guy.
Yeah, he's always wearing that cap of his, and we're all just like, "Hey, Max, you're looking pretty buff today." And he always gets a little bashful. Swolenormous, yeah, he's definitely a cool guy to hang around, and I respect the shit out of him. And you know, at the end of my first DEF CON, we were having a round robin, and we had like, oh, you know, we could have done this, we could have done that, we could have done this and done that. And he says, guys, I just want you to know, if you want to see change and improvement, you're part of the group too. And I'm like, oh, heck yeah. And so from that point forward, we all started spitting ideas and whatnot. And yeah, no, it's just been great. He basically kind of forced us to be like, look, if you don't like the way things are, you have agency here too. And I'm like, heck yeah, let's go for it. And so every year I've enjoyed going so far and just teaching a whole bunch of people. I even brought my parents last year, and Max adored my mom because she was the one who, for 3 days straight, was manning the actual counter and like running the sales and whatnot. And my mom is type A personality to the max, so she was enjoying the hell out of it while my dad was on the side and just watching everything go by.
Outstanding.
It's a lovely community, excellent people. I enjoy them every year.
Agreed. Any questions, anyone?
Yeah, there's one on the screen.
Let's see. New products that you can give us a sneak peek. Nothing that is here, but I can talk about some stuff, especially now that it's getting closer and closer. GravPick will be here in roughly 3 to 4 weeks. The Replicant is right around the same time. I haven't spoken much about that, so I guess I'll talk about that now. The Replicant is going to be a covert cast and mold kit.
Yes.
It is, in my opinion, this was one of my projects that I've been working on for a long time. It is, in my humble opinion, the best of its kind on the planet. It is an entirely self-contained cast and mold system in a package that could fit roughly in the size of a cigarette box. The only thing that's not included is the lighter, and that's only because I don't want to get involved in transferring chemicals and shit. Yeah. So you'll have to go to 7-Eleven and get your own Bic lighter, but everything else that you're going to need is going to be in there. I think you guys are gonna agree that it is extremely elegant. It is well thought out. Nothing like this has been done before, and it vastly simplifies the process. I don't know how familiar any of you guys are with cast and mold systems, but the ones that I've dealt with in the past are usually unwieldy, require usually a second.
You guys know me pretty well, and
Robert
actually let me make one, and I was able to. So that's how easy it is, guys. That should be
Let's be careful. Let's be careful with easy.
Well,
the concept is easy. The execution, it's going to take some practice. You're going to burn some reps, but it is a fantastic means of key duplication. Even if you don't clone a workable key, you can almost certainly get a measurable key from it on the first try.
Very
wow.
Cool.
Hey, that's going to be a game changer for locksmiths.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
I have a quick question. Between impressioning, molding, and finding out different cuts in a key, what do you like? What is the easiest process in all of that? Because I've never attempted to mold a key before. I know kind of the details behind, impressioning, and I know the details behind like decoding a lock and key. What advantages would having a mold over, cutting your own key or just taking photos of a key and decoding it later? What's the advantages of that?
Well, the advantage is like if you're doing a photo duplication, right, or if you're duplicating over a distance, you don't have the ability to actually compromise the lock right then and there, right? So if I can get my hands on that key, if only for a minute, I have that mold prepped, I can slap it in there, make my mold, and then tactically retreat to somewhere, either a men's room or something like that, and I can duplicate that key right there in the restroom, and I can get in if I'm on a red teamer, right? A locksmith, they can do it right in their truck, or actually, honestly, right at the front steps if need be. But most of the time, they're probably not going to be locksmiths. Or like duplicating it as much as red teamers are.
One thing that I'm thinking is like if someone breaks their key inside of a lock, and the locksmith comes and takes the broken part out, they can put the two pieces together into the mold and then use that to open the lock. And then get the access from the inside and then make a new key that way once they've opened it.
Sure. Or, they can take the measurements right off using a key gauge as well, if they have access to the tip of it.
Yeah, if they have a code machine. Yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot of locksmiths don't have code machines with them, or like even if they have bands, they don't have a whole code machine with them.
Yeah. So
but they have sometimes the punch things, which is kind of like a mini code machine.
Good folks have, especially if they're a residential locksmith, they'll have a quick set and a Schlage blue punches for sure. It allows them to very rapidly duplicate keys.
Or space and depth keys or something.
Yeah, exactly. We're really excited about the product. I think it's gonna turn people onto a whole new area of tradecraft that that they don't have a lot of experience with. I find it much easier and much more satisfying doing this than impressioning. I'm also pretty good at impressioning as well, but I have found as I've gotten older, I'm 43. I just had a birthday a couple weeks ago. I'm finding it harder and harder to see the impressioning marks with my eyes. My eyes are starting to change. Same thing with like driving at night. I feel a little more sensitivity to my eyes with light. So if you're younger, you could probably impression really well once you learn the ropes. But older folks, they're gonna have to be either optically assisted or it's definitely much more difficult as you get older.
Yeah.
I know that they made this light box thing for impressioning that I've seen people put a key into, and it has a magnifying glass with lights in it, and you can sometimes even with a camera inside, and then it hooks up to your phone, and you can, I don't know, there's all sorts of different versions that I've kind of seen, but I think LPL even made a video of one at one point.
Yeah.
Oh,
I probably have every one
Smart key or something.
available to buy, either through commercial channels or through government channels. I have every version of those, and they range anywhere from very, very simple, where you're just using a little jeweler scope, to incredibly elegant, where you can do this completely at night without any light escaping, in case if you're a military operator and you don't want to have light give away your positioning.
Oh yeah.
And some really, really cool stuff. Some secret squirrel shit for sure.
Does a molded key last long, or do you find that you have to go back and make a copy of it if you want persistent use of it?
Oh, it's never gonna have the hardiness of a replicated key, like an actual duplicated key. This is only to use in a pinch or to take measurements off of.
Got it. Okay, so it's like a real quick physical snapshot of the key, and then you can walk away from it. Or have you found that you can actually use it like as soon as you make it?
It takes roughly 2 minutes to cool down. If I try to turn it too early, the bow will bend and on the blade,
Okay. These are all going to be very important for me when I get the replicant. So yeah, it's
How long would you say the whole process takes?
I can do it now from start to finish in under 4 minutes. That's from taking a key to heating up the metal to making the mold and allowing it to cool. That's if it's a perfect cast and I don't really have to do a lot of correcting on the mold. Sometimes you don't get a completely tight seal with that clam, and some of the metal bleeds out and you get what's known as ghosting. When that metal cools, you can snap it away with your fingers. There's also a file that's going to be included with this that you could file it away and make sure that key fits exactly how you want it to fit.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I'm betting on it. I hope so. I think it's one of those things that's like, I like betting on things that are true, like spycraft stuff. You know what I mean? And this is legit tradecraft.
Oh, for sure.
What is Covert Instruments' best-selling item? Hands down, by far and away, the Genesis, followed by the Covert Companion, followed by the, I'd say the Learn Lockpicking Bundle and the CI Practice Lock. Those are probably our top four, with Echelon coming up hard on number 5. Actually, no, I forgot. Jesus Christ, the FNG. Holy shit, we sell so many FNGs. So yeah, I would say it's Genesis, FNG, and then Covert Companion.
I think that FNG is really cool because of just how
You guys sell a lot of
inexpensive it is.
sorry.
Go ahead, Isaac.
What were you saying?
I was just saying that I think that FNG is really cool because of just how inexpensive it is, and it's just enough to get you to where you'll know, do you really like lock picking? Is it something you want to do? And the tools are nice. I mean, it's not like they're cheap tools for the cheap price. You know what I mean? And you really can get a kind of a gauge whether or not is this something you might want to do some more of, and the lock that comes with it to actually just be able to see what's happening inside of a real lock, that kind of stuff. I mean, you wouldn't expect that for $10.
Here was my thinking when I designed the FNG. So I designed the FNG for two reasons. One, there was a lot of people that were hosting meetups and get-togethers, and they wanted something that was inexpensive in order to give out to their people. So it was a product that provided a solution for those folks. But the bigger thing that I wanted to address was I noticed that there was I try to watch the market with respect to this industry, and I think it's fairly safe to say that I probably know this particular business better than anybody on the planet. One of the avatar customer profiles that I saw was the person that wanted to dip their toe into the waters of lock sport, but they didn't want to spend a lot of money. They wanted a cheap set just to see if they liked it or not. So here's how that person's life cycle. They wouldn't be in any group or anything on Amazon online. They would just be some sort of external person, and they would buy a cheap Chinesium set on Amazon, right? And then they would join a Facebook group, right? And they would say, "Hey, I got the bug. I got these cheap Chinesium picks, and where can I learn more? I like it, and where can I get good stuff?" And inevitably, what I saw is folks started funneling those people towards Reddit and LPU, where they didn't really like us, and I got tired of missing out on those people. So I said, all right, I got to get involved with those people right on the ground level. Obviously, people want an inexpensive solution. Here's what we're going to do. What do they need to get started? They need a hook, and they need a rake, and they're going to be good quality tools. And then, I was like, I want to put out a lock with it, but it's got to be that clear plastic lock. And I think that clear plastic lock gets a lot of hate because
I think it's amazing. I was just talking with someone the other day about it.
Well, we look at it as pickers. Like, we know that picking an acrylic lock is not an identical experience to picking an actual pet lock, right? Can we all agree on that?
That's correct.
Right.
But that's not where that acrylic lock shines. The acrylic lock shines not as a practice lock. And I've been very, very deliberate in my wording and rebranding and, trying to educate the consumer that it is not a practice lock. You don't practice on that and get better. It is a demonstration lock where you can show the principles, where you can learn yourself. And then once you could show your friends how it works visually. And that's all it is, right? And those three components were the bare minimum to get started. And we gave it the FNG name for fucking new guy, and boom, there you go. The rest is history, But we were able to then get people using our tools. The tools that they got in there were the same high yield steel tools that the Genesis comes with, the Echelon comes with. Now they're much better. They get more exposure to our tools, and they stick with us. And that was the thinking behind that.
Yeah, I was talking the other day with HJ, and I was telling him, like, that acrylic lock, when I first started, that was the first lock that I ever worked on, and there was so much that I learned from that lock. And I did use it as a practice lock when I first started. Like, I was first holding it kind of sideways where I could see what was happening and holding the tensioner awkwardly and trying like bottom of the keyway tension and top of the keyway tension, and trying to just see what was happening with the pins, seeing when they were getting overset, and like just feeling things for the first time. And granted, yeah, I totally agree that it's not the same feeling as a normal padlock, but when you first start, you don't have that context anyways. All you know is like just that it feels like, I remember thinking like it felt like a cloud. Like I had no idea what I was feeling for and what was going on inside. And so when I could actually see it, that helped me a lot. And eventually I could start opening it like every time very quickly. And so I started holding it forwards where I couldn't see the sides, and I was trying to pick it and I couldn't open it anymore like that. So I had to like every once in a while look at the side and see where I was at and be like, oh, well, this is over. So, okay, well, I'm going to try to focus on this, whatever. And so then I would go back to holding it normal. And then eventually I could start opening it more like that. And you'd think I'd be done with it at that point, but I still had more I could learn from it. I started focusing on trying to isolate the binding order, trying to like learn how to master that lock essentially. And then past that point, I always used it, like you said, as a demonstration tool and showing people things. So like it has so much value, that little acrylic lock.
And we went with,
in my opinion,
we went with a padlock as opposed to, because we could have very easily put a clear mortise lock in there as well, or instead.
Right.
But correct me if I'm wrong. There is a different feeling when you pick a mortise lock for the first time, where your finger just goes, right? Like that's one feeling. But in my opinion, there is something innately more satisfying to that shackle release action of a padlock, right? That shackle pop. And it's almost like, I don't know what it was like for everybody else, but for me, in that moment, when I popped my first Master 3 lock open, when that shackle popped, it was like a little gremlin crawled into my ear and flipped a switch that can't be unflipped. And I was hooked. I was searching out that sound, that pop. Oh, it was great, you know? So I wanted to make sure that was a big part of the experience that I wanted to impart with the FNG. I was like, I want people to have that. That's a good feeling.
Right. Yeah, I agree that definitely there's a huge satisfaction with popping shackle, like a padlock. Like I have a soft spot in my heart for padlocks because of that. But I will say, and you know, I got in trouble in LP when I first started because of this. The first lock, like real lock that I had picked was like one of my house locks that was on the door. I didn't, you know, follow I didn't know about how intense the rules were about like picking locks in use at the time. And I just remember working on that door. The door was open, but I set up a chair and I just sat at the back door and I was working on it it was light when I first started and it was dark by the time that I actually got it picked in the end. But I remember it got into a false set, and when it went into a false set, I was like, oh my God, it's in a false set. Okay, what do I do? You know, I was like trying to focus on finding something, and eventually it just like it turned, and when it turned, I was like, oh my God. And like I had it set in a way so that the lock would like actuate, you know, the lock, and you know, I was so satisfied and I was there for hours, you know. And then I told people in LPU and they're like, what are you can't pick that lock, it's on your door, and you know.
So you know, the rules are what the rules are, you know, but I will tell you.
Yeah, no, and I learned from
I did the same thing. I did the same thing that everybody else did, you know.
I just took the lock off my door and then I took a picture of it.
What is the natural human inclination, right? Like once I popped open that first master lock, I was addicted, right? And what are the most convenient, easily to access locks in your house? Your own, right? So my next order of business was I ran into my front door and I'm picking that open, picked open my back door.
Yeah.
Right, that's cool. And then here's where I fucked up. I went out to my car.
Yeah.
And not my proudest moment. I absolutely fucked up the lock in my car door at the time. It was a Mazda 6 at the time.
I've been there. Trust me, I know that. But I was already a locksmith at the time, but I didn't have automotive experience, and I tried to pick my lock to my car door, and it got jammed, and I had to take apart my whole door. I learned about like my car lock door and how to work on it, but I had to take apart my whole entire door.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're ever going to pick open a door and it's your car door, make sure you don't do the driver's door. Like do the passenger door or something else.
Yeah, speaking of the shackle pop, you guys actually put in like a pretty good selection on the particular acrylic lock. I'm always impressed every time I get out an FNG set because it's one of the better acrylic locks I've ever seen. And not to mention when you finally open it, it's a little bit surprising like how much of a pop it actually has on the shackle. So every time I hand that over to someone who is starting out for the first time, that exact moment where they have that gremlin pop up is very visible, and it's kind of like a announcement of celebration whenever, especially at the meetups that we host. Once people hear that, they all look over in the direction, and there's like a split second of confusion, and then you see that gremlin crawl in, and then we're all just celebrating like, yeah, you picked it, heck yeah, first lock.
Yeah, it's definitely, in my opinion, it's kind of a better experience than like using. So another tool that we use is like a progressively pinned lock at like number 1, right?
Yeah.
Just to give the feeling of what lifting that pin stack feels like and what a binding pin feels like, and when your finger moves for the first time, like, whoop, like congratulations, you've picked your first lock. That's the good news. The bad news is you're not going to find any 1-pin locks out in the wild. You know what I mean? So keep going, and eventually you'll get to the point where you could pick real stuff. Yeah.
Now it's also very confusing for people who are picking, like the progressive stuff. Like at DEF CON, Tool has their progressive set that they put out on all the tables, and people trying it for the first time, they don't know what the numbers mean. So we go around and explain to them like what it means, and we have all these models on the table, and it's kind of interesting in a weird way. They're almost disappointed when they pick the number 1 because they're like, oh, is that it? We're like, yeah, it's it. Do it like 5 more times. Yeah. And then that's actually a really sound piece of advice for these guys coming in, because it was so hard for them to get it the first time. By the time they're doing it 5 times in a row, they are bored of the 1 pin, and they're itching to try something more. And so I've seen people jump from the 1 pin and like go straight to 6 pins. And I'm like, hey, good luck. And sometimes they get it, sometimes they don't. And it's always a fun moment to see them be like, well, that wasn't much of a challenge, and you're telling me that there's more challenge. And it's always fun to see someone get a chip on their shoulder and either prove you wrong or very, very right. And either way, it's an excellent learning experience from them.
Yeah. Let me see. What other stuff can I talk about? Something I don't know if I shared publicly yet with anybody is the Apex line is going to come in a completely new and novel pick case. There is nothing like it on the market now. I think it's really, really slick. It's something completely different. But in my opinion, if you're going to try to put out the Teslas of lockpicks, you're going to have to put out the Tesla of lockpick cases as well to go along with it. And I really like what we're coming up with. As a matter of fact, we probably got 1 or 2 patents coming out of the design process that we'll be able to use for other things as well. And really excited about it. I think you guys are going to love it.
I know I will. My wallet will not. I'm very excited. Every time you guys have a new release, I think I'm like checking it like once a week to see like, oh, are there any updates? Nope, keep moving on. And I just recently got one of your guys' reach around sets. Someone's asking if you guys are going to sell some flippers.
Let's see. So are we going to sell flippers? Yes. So interestingly enough, there are a couple of companies that I actually had negotiated exclusives with, where we were going to be the primary vendor like in the U.S. for them. The flipper was one that we were thinking about, and I actually decided that we were going to go with a company called the iCopy. We were going to try to be the exclusive retailer of the iCopy in the U.S. And then we were going to sell flippers, but I wanted to sell the iCopy because I thought that was a really, really great tool. I don't know if you guys remember when that cargo truck of flippers was seized for like a month or two. Something like it was like a couple $1 million worth of flippers, and they just got seized by Border Patrol. Do you guys remember that?
Wow.
I remember hearing about it. Yeah.
That definitely happened, and that happened basically the same week I was going to invest in them and this other company, iCopy, and that scared me so much because what if that was me, right? And then all of a sudden I just lose $1 or $2 million overnight, worth of electronic merchandise, and who knows if I'm even going to get it back,
Yeah.
So I let both of those products go. It stings a little bit, right? Because I see how successful the flipper was, and that shipment was eventually released, but I didn't know, and it was a scary precedent at the time for us from a business perspective, where I was afraid to reach in that area too far, so tactically it was the right decision. But eventually we will go into that game. I just need to assemble the right team and be able to do it correctly at scale, because if we start selling something and throwing our weight behind it, we're going to sell a ton of them. So we have to be able to support a ton of them, right? And it's not like a lockpick where I could just send them a new one in the mail, right? Some of these people may have to troubleshoot, and if we have thousands and thousands of requests for troubleshooting technological items, like
Right.
I get people who they can't even contain themselves long enough to watch a video on how to use a leashy. They just shove it into any lock and just start slapping the thing, and then they call me up and they're like, well, it's all bent and shit, like if I can't get them to use a leashy without breaking it, right? What are my chances with, something that actually requires some gray matter to use, That's part of the reason why I haven't gone into the electronic game, because there's a higher knowledge barrier for entry. And I would need to have a very, very robust staff in place in order to support the level of volume that we would move.
And also time to learn a lot of that stuff and keep up with that stuff.
Sure. Well, we stay on the cutting edge of it. We go out to things like ISC every year, ISC West, which is like the biggest security, like electronic security conference, and one of the biggest ones in the United States. And we do that strictly with the purpose of walking around and seeing what's new and exciting and exciting on like a security horizon. And then basically we go home and like, okay, how do we break this? Right? That's literally what we do. That whole trip is just going out there doing recon, and then we figure out how can we break it and how can we make a tool that breaks it. And then maybe can we also make a countermeasure that defends against it, right? So we like to be able to create the problem, and we also like being able to create the solution, right? Like it's so
Right.
that enables us to go out and be much better red teamers, and it enables us to make cutting edge products.
Very cool.
Can you tell me about the etching that I spotted on pics that you guys sent to George and Jim? Let's see. So I need you to be a little more specific. I send out all kinds of crazy shit. We're a bunch of gremlins with lasers. So it's
So that gremlin that you heard in your ear when you first started has actually eventually turned you into a gremlin that likes to play with lasers.
Oh yeah, I'm the Goblin King right now. Will I do gold tags outside of the USA? Yes, eventually. I gotta try to finish the United States first. I owe each state at least one, and then I'll probably go out. I'll probably hit the UK. I'll probably hit Germany. I'll probably hit Netherlands. Definitely get some in the Netherlands. Maybe Poland. I do have.
Send me a few, and I will get them in the wild.
I'm surprised you didn't say Canada.
So there's already been some in Canada.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Somebody found
That's awesome.
there was one in Canada, and there was also one right across the Canadian border in Niagara Falls. There was two up that area. Now that being said, Canada's a big country, so I gotta hit some of the other provinces as well.
Well, if you need a distributor for Netherlands, just hit me up.
Will do. I keep it super, super tight with those, only because I've had a couple people spill the beans to their friends, and I caught them.
Oh,
Which is why I keep it very, very close, which definitely slows the process down. I'm aware, but
But it makes it better in the end, better quality.
Yeah, I think so. It keeps the integrity of it, right? Like I know if somebody finds one that they legitimately found it, and you guys see how we try to run them. We try to turn it into an OSINT contest first, and then once that lock is located, then the pickers go out and they try their hand on it.
What about like states that there's like questionable legalities about possessing lock picks and things like that?
So all of that I take into consideration. So if there's like, take for example a state like Tennessee, where they have basically, there was an omnibus bill that basically made it so you could only possess lock picks if you're law enforcement or a locksmith in Tennessee, right? And it was done for a legitimate reason. It was done to kind of curb the whole shady locksmith thing that was going on out there, or a lot of were kind of holding people hostage with their hardware. They would put out an incredibly low opening price, and they would go there. They would make a token effort. They'd say, "Hey, I'll do this job for $29." Right? They go out there.
Those are the scam smiths.
Yeah, they're scam smiths. Exactly. You know the deal. But for the other folks, what'll happen is they'll go out there and they'll make an attempt to pick it. Right? They won't get it open, and they'll say, all right, and they'll just drill the lock out, and they'll say, all right, well, it's going to be, $129. And you're like, wait, what, why? Like, I thought you said $29. Like, yeah, but I gotta replace this hardware. I had to drill it out, and all that, and then people are like, well, if you tell them to go scratch, you don't have any hardware on your door, right? It was not a good position to be in. And it was happening often enough that, there was legislation passed to stop it. So, so anyway, circling back to the rules, I do recon in every state where there's very, very specific rules with these gold tag locks that we're putting out. They're always put in a friendly environment where the people that own the property are aware of it, right? It's never to be put in an area that if a casual law enforcement officer drives by, they're going to be able to accuse you of trying to open anything. So we will never put a gold tag lock on a latch. It will always be on a chain link that doesn't secure anything, right? We give people de facto, anybody that wants to try has the ability to pick that lock. They have our permission. It's just a global permission, right? So those are the rules that we put in place to make sure that people don't get jammed up while they're doing it.
very cool.
I'll tell you, man, some of these guys are finding these. Like, there's a guy I didn't know about, Geo Rainbolt or whatever that guy is on Instagram. He's that he can find anything like anywhere from a picture.
Oh,
I
wow.
had no idea that this guy, like, people like him exist. And you could just send him a picture of some blades of grass, you know, and he's like, you know, this is from southern UK, you know, like, just could tell by the species, could tell by the direction the wind is fucking blowing at the time.
Wow.
Really, really crazy in-depth stuff. It's been really fun running those contests and seeing how people operate.
Yeah, I've seen some videos like that.
Yeah. Look up Geo
People
Rainbow
like that.
on Instagram. Shout out to him.
We should get him on picking time.
Yeah, I mean, I think now he's kind of familiar with us because every time I put one of those contests out, he gets a million tags. So I think he knows. I should reach out to him. I'd have him out and I would just kind of trade knowledge with him. You know, like I'll give him.
We'll meet some cool people.
Yeah. I mean, once you have a solid expert level understanding of a skill set, one of the coolest things that you can do then is to barter that skill set with other skill sets with other subject matter experts. And it's awesome.
Yeah. That's well put.
Does anybody else got any questions?
I don't have any. No.
I see. Is that Nathan? Oh, hey, Nathan, Alamo Locksport. What's up, dude?
Yep, that's been me this whole time. How's it going?
You talking? I can't tell. Like, yeah, no shit.
Yeah, that was the guy telling a story at the beginning about seeing.
I like how you colored your logo in there.
Oh yeah, I've actually had some people on our Instagram start asking us, like, "Oh, hey, what's going on with that one?" And I have a very, I guess, niche way of why I colored them this way. I have my Arbiter kit too, but it's like it's in a different spot, and I colored those as well. But yeah, I
just screenshotted your arm, and I'm gonna put your tattoo on a set for you and send it to you.
Oh heck yeah, yeah for sure. I'd love that. No, I'll go ahead and get if you want a better screenshot, I'll get you a better image.
Got it. Yep.
There you
Cool.
go.
I'm gonna put that on your pics and send it to you.
Heck yeah, I would love that. No, that's actually a familial tattoo. My entire family. So you can even see it on my Instagram. My last name's Reyes, and my whole family decided, just as a fun thing, we should get crowns as a tattoo thing. We should all have like some sort of crown theme. And so I decided, since I'm also Hispanic, I'd like to get this. My brother decided to go a little bit more edgelord, and he got 3 skulls, all with knives coming out. He says he wants to get one on his other shoulder with shields coming out instead. And my dad, the one who initially did it because he had never gotten a tattoo, and since he was diagnosed with ALS, he absolutely wanted to do that now. And so he ended up getting one of those too. And me and him actually went to I got another tattoo. I recommended the artist to him, and he went and got a death sipping coffee, while also, instead of carrying a scythe, carrying a blue cornflower, which is the actual symbol flower-wise for ALS. Tattoos have been like a really fun thing for me and my family for like the past 2-3 years. We're just having fun with
That's awesome.
So I'll tell you my tattoo story, because while I was working for the government, I wasn't allowed to have any permanent identifying marks. And then I left government service, and I was like, fuck it, I'm getting a tattoo.
Hell yeah!
And I got a Maori arm piece up here.
Oh, that's
and
sick.
Because I'm a guy and as such a moron, I was like, there's something to be said to having this applied traditionally. And the technique is called tabori. And I literally I had this applied with like sharpened fish bone.
Oh my god!
And it was a 12-hour sit. It was brutal. And let me tell you, it is a lot more painful than the gun. They're basically with a bump hammer like into your arm. Oh man, it's brutal. The product is great, but if you're thinking about getting a tattoo, just Don't do that.
Avoid that method.
Just use the gun. Yeah, it's way less painful. And it was funny, you know, like a 13-hour sit. You know, I only got up once. I went right next door and got a Dairy Queen Blizzard, a Heath Blizzard. I killed that thing, and then I sat back in the chair, and then we basically closed the shop and left at like 10 o'clock. The next day, my right arm like just tripled in size. I look like fucking Hellboy from the movie Hellboy. Like,
Oh my God.
I thought I really made a mistake. I was like, I thought I was going to have to get my arm amputated, you know? But no, it was just my body. Whoa, shit! What the fuck did you just do to me for hours? You know?
Was the Dairy Queen part of the traditional process?
Yes. Yes.
So would you rather do that or see your school again? I'm assuming. I can't say whether or not you have. I'm just guessing. Like, hey, if you had a choice between doing that or see your school.
No, I would do Sears School again.
Oh man, that's huge
that
testament.
Well, I mean, like if you're going through Sears School the second time, like obviously you know what's happening. So like the shitty aspect of Sears, you know, is you not knowing what's going to happen, right? You've stuck in boxes and stuff like that in weird positions for God knows how long, or dogs, or you know. But once you got to know, it's you can just train your mind against it, right?
Yeah. Just do a sit and wait instead of a sit and wonder, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I am looking forward to this upcoming Locksport meet that we have. So this April, actually, there's a group here in San Antonio called SAHA, the San Antonio Hackers Association, and I love going to them. They're full of great guys. I find that I get most of my friends amongst lockpickers and hackers, and it's very fun to go there. But I figured, since a lot of those guys also like to show up to the Locksport meetups, any day, because they have it on the 6th of every month, and so any time that it would eclipse, that we would host a dual feature Locksport meetup. And so there's only 2 of those this year, but I'm thinking we might do more. So this April, we're actually having 2 Locksport meetups, which is going to be extremely fun. I need to get my cardio up because, oh man, they drained the shit out of me. So, but it's really fun to get out there, and especially the spot that we have, Gather Brew Company, they love us. Like, they know me specifically by name now. And we've only been there like 3 or 4 times, and we just leave a great impression. We're always inviting people over to our table, but yeah, I'm really excited for this upcoming meetup. It's going to be really fun, just because I miss seeing all my friends that show up to this.
Yeah, for sure.
In about a month.
Cool.
And yeah, we also have B-sides coming up in June, so a lot of Locksport stuff coming up in San Antonio. A lot of opportunities, and I know.
So we sponsor 4 different clubs in Texas right now. Texas is a real hotbed. If anybody else in other states has any sort of like established meetup that is hopping and active, I'd love to get in contact with you and help support you.
I was trying to build up the community here in Alberta for a while. But it's there's not too many people here, and a lot of it's to do with legality. So even the people who do it kind of keep it to themselves. And yeah, I started this Instagram thing, and I'm thinking I'll try to, give people some tools and stuff through there. So I'll probably buy some of those FNG sets through you, I was thinking. But if I do it, I have to be careful, because I could get in trouble about if I give tools away, I could get in trouble with my security license and stuff. So I need to figure out how I would do it.
Don't get jammed up. Yep.
Yeah.
And picking time.
I think the law is very ambiguous here, and that doesn't say anything about lockpick specifically. And I want to challenge it, but I'm not a lawyer, and I'm just one person. So I could get in trouble.
you don't, because you may end up being the precedent, right? That's where you don't want to be. Right.
Yeah.
Now, honestly, the police in Canada are not so much unlike the police in the United States. Your average law enforcement officer, and I say this as someone who trained thousands of officers, right? They're not going to know what they're really not going to know what lockpicks are, right?
Yeah.
It's the specialty guys. They're going to be the ones that know, right? Like the detectives, they know what lockpicks are for sure. Your SWAT guys, they know. Like your snipers, they're going to know because they carry them, right? They pick locks to get into position, and a lot of times, right? But your average police officer is not going to know them, you know. So, kind of in every state except for like Tennessee, basically, you know, even in like Virginia. So, for example, Virginia is one of those states where, you know, possession of picks is considered prima facie evidence of a crime, right? Which sounds very, very serious. If it was that serious, I wouldn't have my headquarters of covert instruments in Virginia. You know what I mean? That prima facie can be satisfied with something as simple as, I do this as a hobby. I pick locks for fun.
Right. And I totally agree.
And that's a totally acceptable answer, right? An officer's going to accept that answer. Now,
yeah.
Here's where it comes in. The DBAA rule is in effect, right? Have you guys ever heard of the DBAA rule?
I have not.
Don't be an asshole, right? So, if someone just happens to notice your picks and you're not picking anything, right? You're not going to get jammed up, right? Have a nice day. If you are on your ex's property and it's 1 o'clock in the morning and said ex has a restraining order against you and you have lock picks, can we agree that that's a completely different situation?
Yeah, 100%.
You're going to get extra charges because of those lock picks, and rightfully so. But there's a marked distinction in the difference between those two scenarios that I just outlined.
Yeah, I tell people here pretty much the same thing. I say that, you know, like I've picked in cafes with like my picks out and locks, and people have looked at me like curious what I'm doing. And I've been around police officers doing it. That was before I was even a locksmith, and, you know, never got any problems or anything. And on that same note, I lost track of my train of thought, but what I was going to say on top of that was that the thing I got to keep track of is people like what you said, the professionals who do know about it, like that they might complain to the Alberta Trade Association that you know, that they're their own entity, so they could just potentially just make me lose my license if they think I'm doing something without even it being that I broke a law. But, you know, like I think that I could potentially have some legal base to argue with my case in that situation, and I just have to be careful. At the end of the day, I think there needs to be people who are willing to stand up for what like they believe in terms of what people should be able to practice as a hobby and sport, and advocating for those things, or else those things will never have anybody to advocate for them.
I completely agree.
So, and I remember I lost my train of thought about what you were saying about like it being like the DBAA rule. I would say the same thing to people. I would say basically like it's one thing if you're going to a lock sport meetup, or if you're going to your friend's house or something and you have lock picks with you, versus if you're in a strip mall at 1 a.m., you know, with a hood on and a hammer in your back pocket.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, 100%.
So, LadyLocks, we are almost 3 hours in.
Right.
Maybe time for a giveaway?
Right, let's do it.
I have to ask you. I have to ask you to pull up the giveaway tool, because at this moment I can't.
All right, let me see here. I'm not gonna switch my keyboard over.
I'll give away Hey, LadyLocks.
Yes.
I'll give away a $250 shopping spree.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
Oh, there you have it.
Just do the same thing you did with the last winner. Just put him in touch with me.
Okay.
That's very generous, Robert. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Has anyone ever picked one of these Abus 75? I think it's 751 Bravo dash 30 on them. I don't know. They're dimple locks. I really like them a lot. They're so small, but they're very satisfying to pick. I was just wondering if anyone else also got like some satisfaction for picking dimple locks. They're one of my absolute favorite to pick. I think the easiest one. This one's actually like a marine one, meant for like, you know, docks and whatnot. I was just wondering if anyone else had ever picked one.
Which version?
The Abus, let's see if I can get a good. Yeah, the Abus 751 Bravo, /30. And the keyway looks
Not off
like
the top of
this.
my head. Oh, that's like the EC 75. 35. Yeah, I have my full this one. Similar to this one.
Hey, yeah, I think that's the bigger version. Ah, that's great. I love.
Yeah, I have a video on picking that, like, and teaching how to float pick and stuff.
These are extremely fun to work with.
Yeah.
I just like them a lot. I just wanted to share my appreciation for that real quick.
Yeah, they're fun. They're cool little locks.
Hey guys, just a heads up. After this giveaway, I got to go put the little ones to bed. So,
All right.
Sounds good. Thanks for hanging out.
Sure, man. I'll be taking my leave.
All right, we've got 31 entries. I'm going to go ahead, and that's anybody who's commented. So I'm going to go ahead and just click draw, because I'm sure everybody's commented by now. And Robert, if you want to just have any last things you'd like to say or anything, I'll go ahead and run this while you're saying your goodbyes. I know you got to get.
It was awesome hanging out with everyone. I appreciate the questions. I hope you guys appreciated the answers, and you guys have a little more insight as to, you know, the origins of our company and how we operate and the things that are important to us and what's coming out.
Yeah, it's always really cool to have you on like this. The last time you were on too, it was very, very entertaining. So thank you for coming by.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate.
And before anyone,
If nothing else, I try to be amusingly entertaining.
No, like, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And before anyone is missing out missing the running giveaways and the shoutouts, I'm having some technical difficulties showing them at the moment. So we'll move it on for next week. They're still valid until then, so no problems there. And they're in the description, so if you want to check them out, they are there. And I posted the link in the chat for a little fundraiser we have for some new technical stuff, so we can avoid this issue for the next time.
All right. I think everybody has commented, and I'm just going to go ahead and hit draw. We got 40 entries. I think there's only me and Isaac on screen and Nathan. But did you comment anything, Nathan?
I did
in the
not.
chat?
I feel it's a bit unfair to be on screen and also type in the chat.
Well, type something in the chat so you're in the giveaway.
No thanks. I'm good. I'm very well okay. And buying more things is not going to set well with my girlfriend. So.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go ahead and draw. And yeah, thank you so much, Robert. This was super cool of you. I appreciate that so much. And I'm sure everybody else does too. We're all excited. And here we go. Yeah, thanks for hanging out. It's always a lot of fun. All right,
Zach.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
So, yeah, just get a hold of me and I'll get your info to Robert. And very sweet. Thanks, Robert. It's a heck of a giveaway. All right. So there you have it. Just get in touch and I'll get your, info over. I don't know if Zach's still on. Is he? Uh-oh. Well, anybody know who Zach is?
Disqualified. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, where is he? I don't see him on here, but we'll hopefully get in touch with him or someone. Ah, there he is. Okay, Zach. Yeah, get in touch.
I'm just kidding. You're
Get
not
in touch,
disqualified,
Zach,
Zach.
and we'll get your info over to Robert, and he will hook you up. So very cool.
Hey, Isaac, what are you working on?
A NASA twin with Jins 6K.
Oh my goodness. That is a scary lock.
I got pretty close, but I just need to figure out the Jin section.
So what's
And then I fell out
everyone's
of
relationship with pack lock? Because I personally like them. They're a nice sweet spot for just picking up a lock and having something that's a little frustrating but also fun.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good description.
So a fun thing, when I was at B-Sides about a couple of years ago, I was flashing these around, the 98 Pros from Packlock, and
Okay.
I was setting them up because I thought,
Yes.
oh, if you guys want like a little bit more of an advanced thing, you
Sidebar
guys.
set.
Oh, that's so cool.
I just have to get the Jins section, but that's the hard part for me. I need to just find all the Jins, and I don't know. I've never gutted this lock, so I don't know how many Jins there are or anything.
I gotta work at getting better at the gins because I haven't really had a lot of experience with it. So one person handed me one. I got to pick it at a meet, didn't get anywhere close, but it's a fun lock for sure. So it was a really funny occurrence. The B-Sides event that I was at was like open to a lot of the local high schools, college community, and also just like general professionals who wanted to show up to it. And at the Lockpicking Village, we had a couple of these out, and they were mine. And one of the high schoolers that came up, she was just like, "Oh, I've never picked a lock before. Do you think that this would be an okay lock to start at?" And I'm like, if you pick that lock, I will give you a tool for free because that is not something I've seen anyone pick before. 5 minutes later, I ate my words and I gave her a tool. So it was very surprising. They just picked up some of the locks that we had and they just went to town on it. They got lucky, very lucky. I asked them, like, I need to see if you just have an innate talent for this. Please do another one of my pack locks. And they tried and they just couldn't get it, but it was a very surprising moment. That's when I learned to just shut up when I was gonna say a lock is too hard for someone to pick. Because I would eventually end up being proven very wrong, and also it was a lesson in being humble as well. Because like I can't just say that a lock is hard for someone because sometimes it's easy for me, sometimes it's harder for me, but that doesn't mean it's the same standard for everybody else. So whenever I'm at the meetups, I get a lot of the same question, like, "Oh, is that a hard lock?" And I'm like, "For me, it is," and that's usually where I leave it. But a lot of them can get a little bit scared when it comes to picking more advanced locks, especially when it comes to spools and serrated. And so that's been one of the biggest challenges when I've been hosting the Locksport meetups, is encouraging people to keep pushing beyond that level of skill. And it's a very entertaining journey because once they learn how hard it is initially to start on like a Master Lock 3, they don't want anything close. But then you get a couple of the brave ones and they just knock out spool pins, serrated pins, and combination pins and high security locks all in one night. So it's always a fun, amazing journey to meet some of these randomly talented individuals.
It's like that girl was secretly like some super high skilled like lock ninja, and
I'd like to think that at some point a higher creator sent a burst of inspiration to humble me specifically.
she was birthed just to specifically, teach you that lesson.
Man. That lesson was learned very harshly, very quickly. My ego took a big hit that day.
Well,
But it's okay. It didn't take long to recover. You know, you either keep an ego or you lose an ego. It doesn't necessarily matter, especially when it comes to, just doing this kind of stuff. It's a fun hobby. I shouldn't have had an ego to begin with.
Yeah.
yeah, lock sport is very humbling.
Oh, for sure. But
Another
yeah,
thing, jujitsu, it has a similarity to jujitsu. Very humbling quickly, and people who don't have that ability to humble themselves in the pursuit of getting better don't end up going far.
Yeah, I can see that being a very direct one-to-one. Eventually, I kind of ran out of funds to buy more and more expensive locks, and so it became a challenge to. Oh, looks like my camera just decided to give out just now, so let me go ahead and try and fix that.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I think it just overheated.
You're not just holding your hand very still.
Oh, just working really hard to stay very still, see if my camera notices.
It's just a really tough pin.
Just super tough pin. I'm just taking
But
my
you're
time,
on.
moving on an ultra microscopic level. But no, after picking so many locks, it wasn't. Yeah, it used to be fun when people would come up to me and be like, "Oh, I haven't been able to pick this lock," and people would just be like, "Hand it to Nathan. He'll get it open," and I would or wouldn't depending on the day. But after a while, people just stopped bringing new locks, and I got bored at a point, and then the only next step after that is to start teaching people. And when you start teaching people, you eventually get good at that too. And now I have another challenge that I'm trying to work towards, especially here in San Antonio, which is to create as many groups as I feasibly can for Locksport, and all have them fly under the banner of San Antonio Locksport or Alamo City Locksport.
Very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually, it was weird. There was a period of time here in San Antonio where Alamo City Locksport had some interesting occurrences going on. And I was not a big fan of it. I've talked to Rob about it too, but we recently left Alamo City Locksport. It went on a long hiatus, and I was very upset about it for a long while. And then all of a sudden, a bunch of people all at the same time got the inspiration to start it back up. And since I had helped run the group previously before, I decided to take up the mantle for that. And that's when things started to get more interesting. And the challenge was to basically make sure that I created an infrastructure that could not fail with just me, at the helm. I wanted to have a more than just me handling the Locksport stuff, where it wasn't just behind a single entity that held the key to whether or not the meetups were going to happen. And
Yeah,
so
that's the key to success.
And that's when
Community.
Yeah, for sure. And it's been tough lately trying to make sure that things keep going that way. And I've already talked to LadyLocks too, and my hope to start a VA sort of a meetup group here in San Antonio. And that's going well so far. The trick is just mainly to get in touch with the correct people.
That's awesome.
And it's been fun, just making sure that I keep more and more of these meetups starting up. All right, let's see. It's not choosing my camera now, so let's go ahead and go to the settings. Hey, okay.
Well, I feel like I have a couple of the gin spools set. I just need to figure out which ones are the last ones to set, and without dropping all the other progress. That's the hard part.
Oh, Downfall finally got the Alpha FB open. Nice job.
Oh, nice. Do you have the brown belt version or the red belt version?
I think
Not that I've
one's the
ever
brown belt,
seen the
I think.
ones fully pinned. I've never seen one that had fully pinned.
I think that's brown.
Hey guys, it seems
I know
like
They have it ranked at different levels.
It seems like I'm having more than my fair share of technical difficulties at the moment, so I'm probably going to hop off and actually get to do in the garage like I promised I would.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think I'm ready to sign off myself. I'm kind of getting tired here, but yeah.
Sounds good.
Well, it's fun as
I'm gonna
always,
call it,
guys.
we had a nice one. That was some pretty cool stuff that I think we all learned about Red Team. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, sure.
I'm gonna have to go back and take notes on it.
I think that's very neat. All that stuff that them guys must do and see, and must be a huge adrenaline rush.
Oh yeah. Well, anyway, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for having me once again, and I'll
yeah,
try and
thanks
join
for
another
hanging
time.
out, Nathan. Much
sure.
appreciated.
Yeah, you too, buddy. Take care, man.
Take care, guys.
And yeah, I hope all you guys have a great Easter for sure. And oh, John Holistic's threatening me here. He's working on a CL for me. That's a threat from him because his CLs are crazy. Which reminds me, I might do a live later in the week just to work on some of these CLs. I've got like 3 that I wanted to pick, and so I might announce a live later in the week, maybe Wednesday or something, to do one on
And
Wednesday
also-
for them. But
Also, don't forget that picking time is at normal time next week.
okay, so regular back to 4 p.m. next week, everybody. And I hope to see you all there. And that's about it. I hope you all have a great Easter. And thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah.
Take
Thanks
care,
so much.
everybody.
See you all next week.
See you next week, guys.